Part 147. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1462. Zhang Chen called Xiao Wu over and asked him, "What happened between you and Su Qiaxin?" Xiao Wu chuckled and said, "Nothing's wrong, brother Chen. It's nothing." "Then why do people complain to me and say that you don't dare to have a relationship with them?" Zhang Chen asked. Xiao Wu hesitated, and finally said, "It's not that I don't dare, but it's not good. I'm almost 40 years old, and I'm still a girl in her 20s. Then what are you going to do? If you don't want to get married, do you still have to find someone about the same age as you?" Zhang Chen said, "Women around the same age as you are really basically what your aunt said. No, if you are divorced, your ex-husband has an accident. Are you prepared?" "But I'm still a college student," Xiao Wu said. "What's wrong with the college student, Xiao Wu? Do you think she's too young, or do you think she's highly educated? Do you think it's appropriate if she is illiterate?" Xiao Wu was stunned for a moment and said, I just think this is not good." "Xiao Wu, do you feel inferior when you are with Su Qiaxin?" Zhang Chen laughed. "You feel that you are old and uneducated? Do you feel that you are not worthy of others?" Xiao Wu nodded and said honestly, "A little." "Then what should I do?" "You are too young. Educational level, how should I put it, is not the only criterion for measuring a person. You don't have a diploma, but many of your insights are better than those who graduated from university. The most important thing is, yes, Su Qiaxin still likes you. What do you think we should do?" Zhang Chen asked. "There's nothing I can do. I just can't talk about it." "I can't harm others," Xiao Wu said. "Have you ever thought about harming others?" Zhang Chen asked. "Of course not," Xiao Wu said. "Then why did you fall in love with someone and harm them?" Zhang Chen continued to ask. Xiao Wu was speechless, and finally he said, "No, it's the front, the front." "That's what I said before, right?" Zhang Chen asked. "You are older than her, and you are still a college student, right?" Xiao Wu nodded. "Do you like Su Qiaxin? Tell the truth, Xiao Wu." Xiao Wu looked at Zhang Chen, scratched his head in embarrassment, and said, "I like it a little bit." Zhang Chen smiled, "That's okay. You like her and she likes you. This is more important than anything else. Do you understand, Xiao Wu? As for what you said before, it is objective reality and you can't change it. But there are a way." "What can I do, brother Chen?" Xiao Wu asked urgently. "That means you are a little nicer to others, double your kindness. Knowing that people will like you is not easy, so you try your best to be nice to them. That is enough, do you understand?" Xiao Wu nodded. Zhang Chen picked up the phone, called Su Qiaxin, and told her, "Come on." After a while, Su Qiaxin walked in. She saw Zhang Chen and Xiao Wu sitting face to face. She took a few steps forward and stood behind Xiao Wu. Zhang Chen motioned for her to sit. Su Qiaxin glared at Xiao Wu. Sat down beside him angrily. Zhang Chen looked at her and couldn't help laughing. "What are you laughing at, boss?" Su Qiaxin asked. Zhang Chen said, "Su Qiaxin, starting from today, I will give you a month, okay? It will be your and Xiao's love month, okay? In this month, you will date me every day, go out to play for me, and you will eat. Can I reimburse all the money, money for going to the movies, money for doing everything? After a month, if you feel that you are suitable for each other, continue. If not, stop here. Stop entangled with each other. The most important thing is not to affect your work, okay?" After hearing this, Su Qiaxin's face was filled with joy. She asked, "Boss, did you really give him the order? Zhang Chen is right. What do you say to this, damn Xiao Wu?" Zhang Chen smiled and said, "He said he likes you too." Xiao Wu's face turned red instantly. Su Qiaxin looked at him and giggled. She stretched out her hand and punched Xiao Wu and cursed. You damn Xiao Wu, do you really have to give orders from the boss before you are willing to be nice to me? How embarrassing. Xiao Wu chuckled. Affected by various unfavorable news at home and abroad, the Shanghai Composite Index began to embark on a downward slope from 6,124.04 points on October 16, 2007. The snowstorm in the south approaching the Spring Festival intensified the panic in the market. Starting in January this year, the Shanghai Composite Index fell even more significantly. To make matters worse, on January 16, 2008, the central bank announced that the deposit reserve ratio would be raised by 0.5 percentage points, and the stock market closed down 2.63%. On January 21, 2008, it was reported that Ping An wanted to raise another 160 billion yuan. Ping An dropped to the limit, the Shanghai Stock Exchange Index plummeted 5.14%, and the Shanghai Composite Index fell below the psychological mark of 5,000 points. On the 22nd, the decline intensified, closing down 7.22%. On February 5, 2008, the last trading day before the Spring Festival, the ban on 1 billion PetroChina shares was lifted, with a drop of more than 6%. The market closed again at the end of the year. The investors who were deeply trapped were destined to spend the Spring Festival of 2008 in anxiety. As the mainland stock market continued to fall, the stocks of mainland-funded companies in Hong Kong also began to fall. Lu Ligan and Zhang Chen said, "Damn, in the stock market, this money doesn't feel like money. This company, it seems it doesn't look like my business anymore. I have no control over it. It goes up today and down tomorrow. As soon as I wake up, my worth changes. You don't care about him. Your so-called net worth was originally drawn on a cake. You are just a fat man drawn on a cake. Why do you care so much?" Zhang Chen said. Lu Ligan thought about it and realized that he was right. Anyway, the level of my net worth has nothing to do with my life. How much should I spend every day? What made Lu Ligan and Tan Shahan feel a little relieved was that at the end of the year, all the real estate developers couldn't hold it in any longer and began to promote their properties to the market. They saw real estate advertisements of this kind in newspapers every day, including some companies have started to play old tricks again, hiring a lot of people to queue up when listings open, creating a tense atmosphere for housing. The actual transaction volume has not increased much, but at least the atmosphere has been created, making people feel that with the advent of spring, the real estate industry will also bloom. After the Spring Festival, Lu Ligan went to Jiangkan even more frequently. Director Chu was stepping up the leveling of the plots of land he was interested in as expected. He told Lu Ligan that there was no problem. "Mr. Lu, I guarantee that I can list it for you in May. Just prepare the money." In March, good news kept coming to Zhang Chen and his 3 branches in Beijing, Shanghai, and Hangzhou. Xiaomi called Zhang Chen and told Zhang Chen that the customization business in Liu was better than she expected. "It's even better, but the club in Shanghai feels a little crowded because there are too many people coming every day. Some customers are already complaining, so the quality will decline." Xiaomi wanted to expand another club in Shanghai, and Zhang Chen agreed. In fact, not only the clubs in Shanghai felt a bit crowded, but also here in Hangzhou. Zhang Chen bought a yard on Yehuangshan Road, near the Silk Museum, and prepared to decorate it. A week later, Xiaomi called him and told him, "I took a fancy to an old bungalow on Tian Road and asked Zhang Chen to go and have a look." It was Lu Ligan who accompanied Zhang Chen to Shanghai. This house on Tian Road was designed and built by an Italian designer. Everything from marble to ceramic tiles inside was imported from Italy. After all these years, the craftsmanship can still be seen. Sophisticated. After negotiating with the owner, Zhang Chen finally bought the house for 21 million. Lao Wan, Zhang Chen, and Lu Ligan said that now in Shanghai, more and more people are looking for old houses. The prices of new houses have not moved. On the contrary, the prices of these old houses are strangely rising. In Beijing, with the Olympic Games about to be held, the value of those old courtyard houses in Beijing seems to have been discovered. In less than a year, the prices have nearly doubled. Asking Zhang Chen to buy another courtyard house, he felt that the price is too expensive. Lu Ligan gave him an idea and said, "You already have a courtyard house in Beijing. You can buy a commercial and residential building as a club. The decoration will be very modern, which will form a contrast with the courtyard house. In this way, customers will have a choice as to where they want to go. Just go wherever you want. Not everyone likes to walk in alleys. Isn't it the case in Shanghai Jinmao Tower that there are still customers there now?" Zhang Chen thought it made sense, so he bought a house of more than 800 square meters in a new building on Chang'an Street, and planned to use it to decorate his second club in Beijing. Zhang Chen returned to Hangzhou, and the next few places were about Jason and Xiaomi. When Zhang Chen came back from Beijing, Xiao Wu picked him up at Xiaoshan Airport. Zhang Chen asked, "The 1-month deadline has passed. How are you and Su Qiaxin doing?" Xiao Wu chuckled and said it was okay. "What does it mean to be okay? Tell me clearly whether it is good or bad," Zhang Chen said. Xiao Wu said yes, just. "What is it?" Zhang Chen asked. "She doesn't dare to tell her family yet," Xiao Wu said. "Don't worry about it, it will happen naturally," Zhang Chen said. "If you are a girl outside, your parents will not accept your orders. Don't worry, Xiao, if Su Qiaxin really wants to be nice to you, her parents will not be able to do anything about it in the end." "Is she kidnapped back?" Zhang Chen returned to the office. As soon as he sat down, Liu Bang, the emperor of Han Dynasty, came in. He said that he came to say goodbye to Zhang Chen and was going back to Taiwan with Wang Minsheng. Zhang Chen was surprised. He asked, "Brother Liu, it has only been more than a month since you returned from Taiwan after the Chinese New Year. Why are you going back now? Go back and vote. We will vote on March 22nd. We must get rid of the DPP this time." You. If the DPP does not fall, both sides of the Taiwan Strait will not be well. We must elect Ma Yingzhi this time. As Liu Bang, the founder of the Han Dynasty, said, Zhang Chen thought of what he saw on the Dongsun News channel 4 years ago. After Lin and Song Dynasty lost the election, the man standing on the stage of Kaidao shouted hoarsely in the rain, I'm a Taiwanese businessman, I came from Hangzhou in the mainland." Liu Bang, the great ancestor of the Han Dynasty. Zhang Chen said, "I wish you success, brother Liu. We must succeed this time, little brother. I organized more than 200 people to go back. I also called Awen back. One more vote is one vote," Liu Bang, the emperor of the Han Dynasty, said. "Thank you for the reward of 2 fishes at around 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. Thank you for your monthly votes from Evergreen Yan Dottie, Wooden Man, Zizenu, SDTWK, Tianying 1978, Kankan Shanshui, Hurricane 0669, Daos Hung 123, and Lao Zi. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1463. After the Spring Festival, Lao Ni called in the chat room. He and Ren Rongrong said that the new year is over and our goal this year is natural rubber. Go long or short? Ren Rongrong asked. Go long, Lao Ni said. In the chat room, everyone responded by saying yes, I understand, Your Majesty. On February 13th, the first opening day after the new year, although Lao Ni and Ren Rongrong were doing long with their small funds, the market still fell by 105 points, or 0.44%, indicating that there was a strong force in the market. The power of short selling exists. Ren Rongrong wanted to give it a try to see how powerful Lao Ni was at mobilizing funds. The next day she stood still and neither their own funds nor Yangtze Petrochemicals funds entered the market. The main force of natural rubber fell by 195 points, or 0.81%, on this day. The decline widened. Lao Ni did not seem to make any moves on this day. Ren Rongrong understood that either Lao Ni was still conserving his strength, or the amount of funds was not as large as he thought. Faced with the aggressive short sellers, he did not dare to pour out all his money and kept it. There is another reason. Ren Rongrong thinks that Chen Yakin may be doing risk control. Lao Ni opened the small window and asked Ren Rongrong, "Mao Xiao Mao, you haven't done anything in the past 2 days." Ren Rongrong said, "I'm waiting for the king to take action." "Didn't the king take any serious action?" Lao Ni laughed and said, "Okay, let's stop the decline tomorrow and control the decline within 50 points. Ren Rongrong said, "Yes, I will listen to the king." Waiting for opportunities, understand, Lao Ni said, "Attract more short funds to come in, but don't let them increase the decline." Ren Rongrong said, "I understand, within 50 points. Ren Rongrong dialed Mr. Mao's phone number and told them, "You will listen to my instructions in the MSN dialog box tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a tug of war, fast in and fast out." President Mao said yes. Ren Rongrong knew Lao Ni's intention. The main force on the market is now strong enough, but the amount of funds is not large enough. Especially after the Spring Festival, those who do futures will usually close most of their positions before the Spring Festival, short positions or light positions. Hold a position to celebrate the new year, just in case there are any emergencies in the international market during the Spring Festival holiday, causing the market to jump sharply and rise and fall as soon as it opens after the holiday, causing a huge impact. At this time, everyone's positions are empty and pockets are full, but their judgment on the market is vague and has no sense of direction. If the reversal is too violent, many short funds are likely to follow the turn and become unilateral. In the market, there is not enough oil and water. Only by attracting more money from them can we keep them from losing their tail. The reason why Lao Ni wants to control the decline within 50 points is that Ren Rongrong also knows what he is planning. What he is planning is to make the market look like a long-short stranglehold, but the short side still has the upper hand. In this way, it is already the short side entering the market will invest more funds in order to achieve a breakthrough. The funds that have not entered the market will still hesitate after seeing this situation. If a big negative line is pulled out for the third consecutive day today, then the downward channel will be opened, and a huge amount of funds will come into short. In that way, once a downward trend occurs, it will be difficult to reverse it. On this day, the amplitude throughout the day was 285 points. Yangtze Petrochemical, commanded by Lao Ni and Ren Rongrong, bought when the price fell sharply and sold short together when the price rose sharply. They always controlled the market. It is clearly felt in the market that not only the power of the short side is increasing, but the funds of the long side are also constantly increasing. At the end of the day, the main natural rubber contract fell by 30 points, or 0.13%, which was completely in line with Lao Ni's expectations. Ren Rongrong looked at it and was secretly surprised, feeling that this guy's control ability was too strong. The 15th is Friday, and the futures market will be closed for the next 2 days. Lao Ni opened a small window and said to Ren Rongrong, "Mao Xiao Mao, it's almost done. On Monday, the 18th, I will go in during the call auction stage and pull up the market. Get up, you chase and fight." Ren Rongrong said yes. Ren Rongrong leaned back and leaned on the back of the chair. She pressed her temples with the index fingers of both hands. She felt that she might have thought about things too simply. She wanted to finish the battle in one move and knock down Lao Ni with one move. Maybe he underestimated Lao Ni too much. He might not be killed so easily. Ren Rongrong pondered. She felt that her biggest advantage now was that I was in the dark and others were in the dark. Lao Ni obviously trusts this Mao Xiaomao very much. He won't say many things to other people in the chat room, but he will talk to her, Mao Xiaomao, even though he doesn't even know whether this Mao Xiaomao is a boy or a girl. But Mao Xiaomao followed her forward and retreat several times, and she had completely gained his trust. Especially because of her amount of funds, Lao Ni considered her someone he could rely on. Ren Rongrong thought that Lao Ni didn't know her whereabouts at all, but she already knew very well whether Lao Ni was buying or selling short. Ren Rongrong felt that she should use this advantageous situation to weaken Lao Ni's power little by little, so that he, this fierce tiger, first turned into a sick cat, so that he could be 100% sure of winning with one move. Just do it. Ren Rongrong patted the desk surface with his right hand and said to himself. She stood up and walked out. She was going to Lu Yun and told her thoughts. This time for the natural rubber battle, she needed to apply for 2 billion from Lu Yun. With these 2 billion, Ren Rongrong felt that she not only can you fully test Lao Ni's strength, but you can also sting him. On February 18th, during the call auction stage before the opening, the short side was very powerful. When the market opened, it opened at 23,660, which was a decrease of 0.61% from the previous trading day. After the market opened, Lao Ni opened a small window to Ren Rongrong shouted, and called in the chat room. Buy in. Buy in. Ren Rongrong and President Mao said, buy it. Yangtze Petrochemical made a move, and the market turned around immediately. Lao Ni also came with a few 10,000 lots. The short side was stunned, the market turned red, and then won every victory, closing at the highest point of the day, 24,220, an increase of 415 points. With an increase of 1.74%, Lao Ni and the others won. Continue tomorrow, Lao Ni and Ren Rongrong said. The next day, during the collective bidding stage, Lao Ni and Ren Rongrong entered the market and directly raised the opening price to 24,500. After the opening, it once reached 24,550. But today the short side was obviously well prepared and fought all the way with a fierce offensive. The two sides fought hard in the game, and at one point, Ren Rongrong almost used the 2 billion funds. Lao Ni kept opening the small window and asked, Mao Xiaomao, are there any bullets left? Ren Rongrong said, 30% of the position is taken. Lao Ni understood that Mao Xiaomao still had bullets, but there were not many anymore. Lao Ni said, it's okay, I'll guard it while you rest. Next, it was really Lao Ni who was resisting Kong Fang's attack. Ren Rongrong looked at it and was secretly frightened. She thought, this Lao Ni really shouldn't be underestimated. Although the long-short game on this day was extremely cruel, Lao Ni managed to hold on. At the close of the day, it fell 65 points, or 0.27%. What a risk, Lao Ni said. Yes, it's too dangerous. Fortunately, there is a king, Ren Rongrong said. Through the screen, Ren Rongrong seemed to be able to hear Lao Ni's proud smile. Continue tomorrow and fight hard for another day, Lao Ni and Ren Rongrong said. Ren Rongrong said yes. The next day, February 20th, was almost a replica of the previous day. The opening was still pulled to 24,500 points, and the intraday high reached 24,535 points. However, on this day, the bears launched a more violent attack. Lao Ni exclaimed, what kind of funds are so powerful, Mao Xiaomao, do you know? Ren Rongrong said, I don't know. But in fact, Ren Rongrong knew that their own funds entered the market at 24,500 and went short, making a super short-term position. At 24,020, When more funds from Lao Ni came in, Ren Rongrong and the others closed their positions. The closing price on this day was 24,035, a drop of 120 points, or 0.5%. The drop was wider than yesterday, but Ren Rongrong felt clear in her heart. She felt that she had touched the bottom of Lao Ni. She knew that if she continued to spend 2 billion, it would be what effect? Shoot out all the bullets tomorrow, Ren Rongrong asked Lao Ni. Lao Ni said yes, let's do it. The next day the market opened at 24,200, Lao Ni and Ren Rongrong fought all the way. On this day, due to the lack of Ren Rongrong and his 2 billion, the strength of the resistance was significantly weakened, and they were retreating steadily. The highest price on the market climbed to 24,980 that day. Finally, it closed at 24,785, an increase of 750 points or 3.12%. On the 2 trading days of February 22nd and 25th, Lao Ni clearly felt that the power of the short side was still strong, while he and Mao Xiaomao were the only 2 main funds, and there were no other big funds. Following up, after the market closed, Lao Ni opened a small window and told Ren Rongrong that he would clear out the long and start harvesting leaks tomorrow. Ren Rongrong said yes. On February 26th, the main force of natural rubber pulled out a big negative line, falling 860 points, or 3.49%. After a short period of long and short confrontation, Tianjiao began to enter a downward channel. By April 22, in 2 months, Tianjiao had fallen from a high of 24,980 on February 21 to 20,400 points. It fell by more than 4,500 points. Whether it was Lao Ni, Yangtze Petrochemical, or Ren Rongrong, they all made a lot of money. Keep beating, hit it to 18,000 points, Lao Ni and Ren Rongrong said. Ren Rongrong said yes. Ren Rongrong knew in his heart that when Tianjiao was in such a miserable situation, especially since the old Nini Wangshu was so popular, there would definitely be a lot of follow-up funds coming in. Their chat room now has many people who Ren Rongrong doesn't know. Ren Rongrong and Mr. Mao said that starting from tomorrow, they would quietly close their positions with small orders and strive to close them all within 3 days. It's a great harvest. Mr. Mao shouted excitedly, and Ren Rongrong smiled. She said, "Wait, we will come back." When he said this, Ren Rongrong felt that he looked so much like Hu Hansen in the movie Sparkling Red Star. Hu Hansen's signature line was, "I, Hu Hansen, am back again." Thinking of this, Ren Rongrong couldn't help but laugh. She said, "I'm back, Lao Ni, you're going to bleed some, and you have to vomit out whatever you eat. Thank you to Lao Chantang, Blue Changxiang, Sissy my wife, and Zongkai 727 for your monthly passes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1464. After all the positions were closed, Ren Rongrong could live a relaxed day. She watched the long and short battles on the market with a kind of pleasure that had nothing to do with herself. Lao Ni opened the small window and asked her, "Mao Xiaomao, have all the bullets been fired?" Ren Rongrong said, "The position is already 50, can't it be taken down?" Generally speaking, when the futures position reaches 50%, it reaches the critical point of risk. Lao Ni said, "Okay, it depends on me." Lao Ni continues to sell short. The phone on Ren Rongrong's desk rang. It was Lu Yun. Lu Yun asked her to come over. Ren Rongrong went over. Lu Yun told her, "Tianjiao 0805, I think it has bottomed out, and the oil price is still rising. It's time to take advantage of this time, pull it up. Ren Rongrong smiled and said, I also have this plan. President Mao and the others are also waiting there. They have been waiting for 3 days. Okay, start closing positions on Monday, don't leave any chance to the other party, Lu Yun said. Ren Rongrong said yes. There is no limit, as long as you win. Lu Yun chased, and Ren Rongrong smiled. That means that for this battle, the funds that he can mobilize are far more than 2 billion. Isn't such a battle difficult to fight? Washing the dishes means washing the dishes into unilateral. The market will continue to force positions step by step, as long as you, Lao Ni, dare to fight. Back in his office, Ren Rongrong called Mr. Mao and told him that during the collective bidding stage on Monday, you can go in and make the trend happen. We are not afraid of full positions, and we will follow suit. President Mao said yes, no problem, I will eat meat with you. On Monday, April 28, there was a fierce beating before the opening of Yangtze Petrochemical. The main contract of natural rubber opened at 21,110, an increase of 1.69%. Ren Rongrong and others followed up. After that, the price rose all the way, and finally reached the highest point of the day at 21,585. At the close of trading, it rose 825 points, or 3.97%. Chen Yakin reminded Lao Ni that the market has changed. Should we close the position? Close the position, what position to close? It has fallen so deep. Today is just a normal correction. We will continue tomorrow. We are still shorting. If we don't stop selling below 18,000, I will see who among them dares to fight me, Lao Ni said. However, the price of crude oil is still rising, Chen Yakin said. Crude oil is crude oil, and rubber is rubber, Lao Ni said. Chen Yakin shook her head. She felt that Lao Ni was a little unreasonable, but there was nothing she could do about it. He was the boss. After Ren Rongrong left, Chen Yakin said that he was the person in charge of the financial business department, but Lao Ni's hand had directly reached into in the financial business department. Chen Yakin even suspected that Lao Ni was taking Ren Rongrong away just for her own sake. On the one hand, Chen Yakin also admitted that Lao Ni is not a fool or a fool. His board feel is very accurate and his shots are fierce and fast. This allowed them to make a lot of profits from several operations. However, Chen Yakin felt that there was a hidden worry. She felt that success again and again does not mean anything. In the financial market, you may win 100 times, but if you lose once, you may lose everything. The financial market judges heroes based on results, not processes. The result is always the next time, so every operation is not the final ending, but a process, and requires caution. Lao Ni laughed at her. Women are women, why is there almost no room for women in the financial market? That's because you women are too worried about gains and losses, and will miss great opportunities in vain. He even told Chen Yakin that your previous success was accidental. At that time, there were not many people doing this in the country. There were no tigers or monkeys in the mountains to be kings. Now look at the good traders in the country, are there any traces of women? Where did Rongrong go? She was so arrogant, why didn't you see her? Chen Yakin didn't know where Ren Rongrong had gone. When Chen Yakin heard what Lao Ni said, she thought of the sleepless nights she and Ren Rongrong had spent together. She felt a little unwilling and felt that Ren Rongrong was not worth it, but I don't want to say anything, and I don't want to argue. Just say whatever you want. If you say we are grass, we are grass. Who makes you the king? Chen Yakin had a kind of disgust and contempt for Lao Ni from the bottom of her heart. If it weren't for this account and Meng Ping's involvement, Chen Yakin felt that she probably wouldn't be here anymore. She kept reminding Lao Ni this, reminding Lao Ni that, or she felt that if there was a major loss, Meng Ping would be among them, and she felt that she had the responsibility to help him guard it. Although her relationship with Meng Ping had always been aloof, when Meng Ping came to Hangzhou, he would treat Chen Yakin to dinner. After dinner, the two of them would go to the West Lake to hang out and watch movies. At that time, Chen Yakin, it felt like the two of them were very close, but they were both reserved, and neither of them broke the window paper. When Meng Ping left Hangzhou and returned to Nanjing, Chen Yakin felt that they were far away again. Chen Yakin had never been to Nanjing. She didn't know what Meng Ping would be like when he was in Nanjing. She stopped Chen Yakin from breaking the window paper. Another main reason is that Chen Yakin doesn't even know if Meng Ping has a girlfriend or a home in Nanjing. Chen Yakin heard Qianfang calling Meng Ping. With a woman's intuition, she could tell from the tone of Qianfang's words that this woman was very close to Meng Ping. Every time after talking to Qianfang on the phone, Meng Ping and Chen Yakin would be silent for a short time. Meng Ping didn't say anything, and Chen Yakin didn't ask who the woman on the phone was. Chen Yakin didn't know what responsibility she had to help Meng Ping guard it, but from the bottom of her heart, she just believed that this was the meaning of her staying here. Chen Yakin is an arrogant person at heart, so arrogant that she does not allow herself to have flaws in Meng Ping's eyes. Therefore, she will not speak ill of Lao Ni to Meng Ping, making Meng Ping feel that she is a trouble-making woman. Many times, Chen Yakin had the urge to remind Meng Ping and Lu Ligan, but she never did anything. She was just silently doing her part and managing risks silently. Remove the stop-loss line, Lao Ni and Chen Yakin said. What? Chen Yakin was surprised. Remove the stop-loss line, Lao Ni said. The market will be very turbulent tomorrow, and I don't want to set up a defense. That's too dangerous, Chen Yakin said. What's the risk? There's still more than half a month left before the delivery date. Who dares to make a deal on 0805? He's not worried about getting it in his own hands, Lao Ni said. When Lao Ni saw that Chen Yakin was sitting still, he took it upon himself to remove the stop-loss line. Everyone else in the office stared at him and Chen Yakin, as if the air had frozen. This move of Lao Ni can be said to have destroyed the trading discipline of their entire department. From the first day they came in, Beijing and Mali were taught by Ren Rongrong and Chen Yakin that trading discipline was more important than their own lives. Thing. Chen Yakin bit her lip and suppressed her blush. No one is allowed to set a stop-loss without my order, do you understand? Lao Ni asked sternly. Chen Yakin threw the pen in her hand on the table, stood up and walked out. Lao Ni looked at the other people and asked sharply. Do you understand? Everyone else said, got it? The next day, Lao Ni started to make heavy moves, and other short sides followed suit. The long and short sides were in a stalemate, but in the end the long side prevailed and closed at 21,600, a small increase of 15 points. On April 30th, followed by May 1st to 4th, the futures market was closed. At the beginning of today, during the call auction stage before the opening, Lao Ni led a few short sellers and launched a fierce attack. The market opened at 21,510. Down 0.42% from the previous trading day's closing price. After the opening, it once fell to 21,450 points. Mr. Mao was a little frightened and called Ren Rongrong to ask if he could still stand up. We are fully stocked. At this time, Ren Rongrong had left her office and arrived at the large office area of her department. She was about to speak when she saw Lu Yun walking in. Lu Yun looked at the big screen on the wall, clapped her hands, and said to everyone, let's all do it. Wash out Xiaosan first. Everyone responded together, yes. Ren Rongrong and President Mao said, did you hear it? I heard it was Mr. Liu's voice, Mr. Mao said excitedly. On this day, the short side had no chance anymore. Ren Rongrong and the others kept adding positions, and many short sellers who followed the trend ran away when they saw that the situation was not going well. Lao Ni was also secretly surprised. Where did the funds come from? The fighting power of these many parties was too strong. Chen Yakin and Lao Ni said, "It's settled." Lao Ni quickly calculated in his mind that if he closed his position at this time, he would not only lose all the money he earned from the previous wave of falling prices, but would also lose more than 40 million. Lao Ni glared at Chen Yakin and shouted, "It's a flat, why not hit me again?" Chen Yakin sat still. Lao Ni passed over Chen Yakin and shouted directly to Mali and Beijing, "Didn't you hear what I said?" Mali and Beijing both looked at Chen Yakin, and Lao Ni cursed, "What are you looking at? Who is the boss and who has the final say here?" Mali and Beijing had no choice but to start the operation. At about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, almost all the other short sides withdrew. Only Lao Ni and the others were still holding on. Some of the short sides that had withdrawn saw that the bulls were gaining momentum and quickly joined the bulls. A formation had formed on the market. One-sided market. On the last day of April, Tianjiao closed at 21,890 at 0805, with an amplitude of 470 points throughout the day. Although Ren Rongrong and the others won, Ren Rongrong still felt a little scared. It seemed that Lao Ni's strength and tenacity were beyond her capabilities. "Okay, tomorrow is May Day. Let's have a good rest for 4 days and fight again in 4 days." Lu Yun clapped her hands and told everyone. The 1st to 3rd is the May Day holiday, the 4th is Sunday, and the futures market has stopped trading forever. By the time they enter the market to fight again, it will be Monday, May 5th. "Boss, do you want to reward me?" Ren Rongrong asked. Lu Yun smiled and said, "Yes, I will treat your department to a buffet upstairs in the evening." Everyone cheered. Ren Rongrong returned to her office and sat down. She remembered that there was one more thing she had not done. She opened the small window and said to Lao Ni, "Your Majesty, I have suffered a huge loss and cannot bear it any longer. I have already withdrawn." There was silence on the screen. Old King Ni ignored Ren Rongrong or Mao Xiaomao. He was also in his office, staring at today's market. In his mind, he was cursing the exchange and the May Day holiday. A fierce battle was going on. Why the hell did it stop, and it stopped for 4 days? Lao Ni knew that many of the short forces had withdrawn. Looking around the entire battlefield, it seemed that he was the only one with the army. Lao Ni was cursing in his heart, "So what if I am the only one left? I just want to show you what a king is." Old Ni recalled that there was a time when the polyester thread in Kikiao was very tight. Old Ni let out the wind and told all the suppliers that no matter what the price, I would buy it 500 tons more expensive than others. Entering Kikiao, the polyester yarn just entered Lao Ni's factory. Other factories were suffering from a lack of raw materials, production had stopped, and they were worrying about gains and losses. When calculating whether to follow up with Lao Ni, only Lao Ni's factory in Kikiao was operating at full capacity. Lao Ni actually didn't have much money at that time. He had to run around borrowing money every day to pay for the truckloads of polyester yarn that were transported to the factory. As a result, this round of shortage of polyester yarn caused an overall price increase in Kikiao's fabrics. The 510 tons that Lao Ni spent extra time allowed him to double his profit. In that battle, Lao Ni began to leave his peers behind. He walked forward in a hurry. Lao Ni sat there and stared at the board. He felt that the heroic spirit he had back then was back. "Thank you for the reward of 2 fishes at around 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. Thank you to Tianying 1978, Taizongshang, Lu, FM Pippi, and Chuya 1612051930467444 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health." The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1465. During the May Day holiday, Chen Yakin did not go back to her hometown. She felt that there was no point in going back. Apart from being nagged about not finding a man to marry, there seemed to be no other topics of conversation between her family and her. The older she gets, the less she seems to have anything to say to her parents. When she was a child, she could act like a spoiled child. When she got older, when she went to work in other places, her parents showed affection to her and asked her questions about everything in Hangzhou. I am afraid that she will suffer alone in Hangzhou. In the past few years, whether she can endure hardship in Hangzhou is no longer a concern of her parents. What they are most concerned about is when she will marry herself out. It seems that not getting married is the source of all evil. If you think it's hard in Hangzhou, but that's because you're not married and don't have a family. Once you have a family, everything will be fine. For parents, they never think about it. In many cases, getting married is the root of all evil. Haven't you seen so many couples fighting and getting married? After seeing this, you still hope that your daughter will get married? Chen Yakin feels that her parents are a bit unreasonable, but even the most unreasonable parents are parents. In fact, everything they say is what they want to say, but when they say it, there is a prefix, that is, for your own good. From your perspective, help you think about the problem? This annoyed Chen Yakin. Her mother called yesterday and asked her if she would go back. She said no, and her mother immediately said, "Let's come over tomorrow." Chen Yakin quickly said that she would be on a business trip early tomorrow morning. Mom scolded, it was too much for Zhijian to have people go on a business trip on a day like this. Lao Ni's nickname was Ni Zhijian. Her mother was scolding Lao Ni, but after she finished scolding, she stopped talking. What frightened Chen Yakin and refused her mother to come was that when her mother came, she might not come alone, but bring some unreliable man with her. Rather than introducing him to her, he might say he was forcing her to come. He stuffed it into her, wishing they could have sex right away. Chen Yakin's belly would grow bigger just by making a growl. As long as Chen Yakin's belly gets bigger, her mother will feel that she can explain all aspects, and then you can speak. The parents' forced marriage does not represent themselves, but all the forces that like to arrange others and gossip. These forces first put heavy pressure on the parents' heads, making them feel that they cannot lift their heads up. Not wanting to bow her head, she felt that she must force Chen Yakin to bow her head. On the day of May Day, early in the morning, there were people along the Meisi River below. There were opera singers, national standard dancers, and a large group of old ladies, all dressed up like Korean flower girls. Do the fan dance. All the groups turned up their speakers to the loudest level. They felt that since it was a holiday, they had a reason to turn their speakers to the loudest level. Only those who stayed at home and slept at home during the holiday were inappropriate. Chen Yakin got out of bed with bare feet, walked outside, closed the balcony door, muttered, returned to the bedroom, fell down and continued to sleep. Chen Yakin woke up from hunger rather than from sleep. In her dream, she could hear her stomach growling. She opened her eyes and looked at her watch. She was also startled. Now it was already past 1 o'clock in the afternoon. From last night to now, she had slept for more than 10 hours. Chen Yakin got up, opened the refrigerator and took a look. There was nothing to eat in the refrigerator, only 5 eggs. Chen Yakin took out 2. She walked into the kitchen, put the pot on the gas stove, added water, lit it, and people came out of the kitchen and went to the bathroom, brushed my teeth and washed my face. Looking in the mirror, she found a pimple on the edge of her nose. She squeezed it with her hand and squeezed out a blood spot. She quickly opened the cabinet, found cotton wool and iodophor, wiped it, and looked in the mirror after wiping it. Only then did she realize that this was too ugly. The place where the iodophor had been rubbed was like a stain on her fair face, which had not been cleaned. Chen Yakin quickly used facial cleanser, but when it didn't work, she used soap again. Only then did the traces of iodophor fade away, making it impossible to tell unless you look carefully. After finishing all this work, Chen Yakin thought that there was still water sitting on her gas stove, so she hurried to the kitchen. The water had already boiled and there was only the bottom of the pot. Chen Yakin poured out all the water, added water again, and sat back down. On the gas stove, he breathed a sigh of relief. She walked back to the living room and wanted to get instant noodles, but she went into the bathroom and looked in the mirror to make sure that the traces of iodophore were very weak. She touched it with her fingers, then walked back to the living room and took a pack. Instant noodles go back to the kitchen. She poured the noodles and seasonings into the pot, cracked 2 eggs in, and held her hands in front of her chest. When she held her chest, she felt that her chest was a little tight. She looked down and couldn't help but press it with her hands. Flexible, Chen Yakin smiled with satisfaction. When the noodles were cooked, she put the noodles in a bowl, held the noodles, went to the living room, sat down on the sofa, took the remote control of the TV, turned on the TV, and ate the noodles while watching TV. After finishing the noodles, I went to the kitchen to wash the pots and bowls. I returned to the living room and opened the door to the balcony. The sun was shining brightly outside. Although there were fewer people on the Beige River in the afternoon, there were more cruise ships coming and going on the river. Got up. Chen Yakin lay on the balcony and looked down for a while. She felt that it was unreasonable not to go out for a walk in such good weather. She walked back to the bedroom, changed her clothes, and walked into the bathroom again to look at the traces of iodophore. It seemed to be getting lighter. When I looked closer to the mirror, I felt it was even more obvious. I felt very anxious. Never mind him, Chen Yakin muttered and walked out, looking resolute. She walked outside to the living room and picked up her bag and car keys, but was stunned again. She didn't know where she was going. Thinking that today was May Day and there were people everywhere, Chen Yakin seemed to have lost interest in going out. But looking at the clothes I had changed, I was unwilling to give in. I finally decided to go to the car to talk about it. Chen Yakin's life circle is really very small. When she was in the Kikiao factory, there seemed to be an invisible wall between her and the people around her. That rotten coward kept pestering her, and other men did not dare to get close. And as for women, because Chen Yakin is too beautiful, people of all ages are naturally hostile to her. Later, after Chen Yakin and Lao Ni had an abnormal relationship, regardless of whether others knew it or not, Chen Yakin felt guilty and always felt that others were pointing fingers behind her back and talking about her and Lao Ni's affairs. She even more consciously isolate yourself from others. When they arrived in Hangzhou, in the company, their financial business department was an independent kingdom. Not to mention dealing with other departments, even if people from other departments said a few words to them, when Lao Ni saw it, he would put on a straight face and think that the person was inquiring about the financial business department. Coupled with the special nature of Chen Yakin's and others' work, when they were still doing external marketing, they were in the office almost 24 hours a day. Even if they went home to sleep, they would go to the company early in the morning and not come back until midnight. On Saturdays and Sundays, she and Ren Rongrong were almost always in the company, reviewing trading, drawing candle charts by themselves, and studying a lot of information. Throughout the year, they had almost no free time. Every day, they could see only a few people. It's just Molly and Beijing who occasionally go out to eat or watch a movie. Another person I often see is Lao Ni. Even the two bosses Lu Ligan and Meng Ping are hands-off shopkeepers and completely leave this piece to Lao Ni. They rarely show up at all, although every time when Meng Ping came, Chen Yakin could see that Meng Ping still liked being with her. When they broke up, Chen Yakin felt a little sad in her heart. Chen Yakin got into the car, and she remembered that she really wanted to hit the accelerator and rush out, keep driving until the highway, and drive to Nanjing like this. It was rare for her to have 4 days off, so why couldn't she go there? I have never been to Nanjing, so I went to see Meng Ping. Chen Yakin picked up her phone and wanted to call Meng Ping, but staring at Meng Ping's number, she gave up again. She thought of Qian Fang. Although she didn't know that woman's name was Qian Fang, she was familiar with her voice. Familiar with the slightly commanding tone when she spoke to Meng Ping. Several times, Chen Yakin heard Qian Fang ask on the phone, "Lao Meng, what else do you have to do in Hangzhou?" Meng Ping looked at Chen Yakin and hesitated. Qian Fang said, "It's good to be back." Next, Meng Ping will definitely say, "Okay, I'll go back in the afternoon or evening." Chen Yakin sighed. She thought that Meng Ping must be with this woman now. They rarely talked on the phone. If they talked on the phone and the woman was around, what could Chen Yakin say? Chen Yakin put down the phone. She patted the steering wheel gently with her hand. She felt that she really didn't know where to go. Westlake, Huapeo, Juxi, Manchualong, and even Longjing must be crowded with people now, but that's it. Chen Yakin felt unwilling to go downstairs or go back upstairs. She finally thought about it and decided to go to the center of Hangzhou. The world-famous street there would not be like Yantai or Jibei Hangbei. When the holidays came, they would do something to give away 67, 78, or 10 for every 200. There the venue itself is spacious, so it shouldn't be too crowded. Chen Yakin spent the entire afternoon shopping in the center of Hangzhou, looking at each store but buying nothing. It wasn't that the things here were expensive and she couldn't afford them, but that she felt that whether it was clothes or bags, she couldn't even wear them. There is no chance. As for cosmetics, Chen Yakin basically doesn't use them. They go in and out of the car in the morning and return home in the morning. When they get to the office, they want to change into pajamas and pajamas. But now Lao Ni keeps coming in. They no longer wear pajamas and pajamas, but they also wear very loose and casual pullovers and elastic pants. After shopping around 5 o'clock, Chen Yakin went to the 8th floor. There were dozens of restaurants in the food area on the 8th floor. There were many people waiting for dinner outside some stores. Chen Yakin chose a Chaozhou restaurant that seemed empty and left. "Go in." She absent-mindedly read the menu for a long time, and finally asked the waiter to recommend a few dishes. She ate them absent-mindedly, not finding them delicious or not delicious. The waiter kindly gave her a package for those she didn't finish. Walked out of the store, but Chen Yakin thought it was too troublesome to carry the takeaway, so she put it on a stainless steel trash can. After walking down one floor, I saw a movie theater on the 6th floor. Chen Yakin didn't choose any movie. She just bought tickets for the show that was about to open. She went in and sat down, only to find that the movie was showing The Beginning of Spring, directed by Gu Chengui and starring Zhang Wenli. It was so depressing to watch that Chen Yakin felt that she seemed to see her own shadow in Wan Kailing. Chen Yakin wanted to stand up and leave several times, but she still insisted on finishing the movie. When the show ended and all the audience had left, Chen Yakin stood up as the last one and walked out silently. Chen Yakin returned home and collapsed on the sofa, feeling that she was about to fall apart. She seemed to have done nothing all afternoon, but she felt very tired, even more tired than if she had stayed up all night. Chen Yakin picked up her phone and looked at it. There was a missed call from her mother. Chen Yakin didn't bother to reply. She knew that there was nothing else to do when she went back. It was just to ask her where she went on her business trip and who she went with. If Chen Yakin said that the person traveling with her was a man, her mother would immediately become excited and ask carefully who the man was. If it was a woman, her mother would immediately lose interest. Chen Yakin threw her phone aside, picked up the TV remote control and pressed it. Only then did she remember that it was a mistake not to go to the supermarket and buy some food when she came back. In this way, she would have to go out tomorrow. Thinking about the fact that there were still 3 days left for this holiday, Chen Yakin felt even more why it was so long. Thank you to Ba Liang, Daos Hung 123, Kulvwixing, fish-eating brother, and Zizengzi for your monthly passes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1466. Chen Yakin felt very tired, but as soon as she thought about not having to go to work tomorrow, she instantly lost her sleepiness. She walked into the bedroom and walked out, sat on the sofa again, turned on the TV, and clicked through all the channels on the TV, but there was nothing good to watch. She simply took the laptop, pulled the network cable over, plugged it into the socket, and started accessing the internet. As usual, I first go to Sina and NetEase to read the news, then go to the Qiangguo forum and Tianya, but there is nothing of particular interest. Then I go to the local 19th floor to see a lot of posts. Today there are photos of crowded places in Hangzhou. Chen Yakin is glad that she has not gone to any of these places. The TV channels had begun to say goodbye one after another. Chen Yakin turned off the TV and stared at the computer screen for too long, feeling a little sore. She stood up and walked to the balcony. On the Meisi River below, the lights on the bridges had been turned off. However, there were still many people wandering back and forth along the Meisi River, many of whom were carrying their shoulders. Chen Yakin didn't know if they could not find a hotel to stay in the young man and woman he was traveling with, so they planned to spend the night in the park by the river. Just now on the 19th floor, she saw a post saying that all the hotels in Hangzhou were full today, and many people couldn't find a place to stay. What a fuss! Chen Yakin looked at the people below, but felt that it was nothing special. If you can be with the person you like, that's it, just walk and sit by the river, and spend one night, that would be nice. There is already the warmth of summer in the wind blowing in the face, but the mosquitoes have not yet begun to appear wantonly. Chen Yakin stretched out her hand and waved it in the air. The wind touched her palm, which made her feel slightly itchy. While thinking this way, Chen Yakin thought of the day Meng Ping sent her back, the scene where they went to play in Lu Sun's former residence and Baiko Garden, and the scene of rocking the boat in the river at night. What's strange is that it's so late. There are actually boats moving on the Meisi River. This boat is different from those water buses. This boat is a painting boat with shadows and shadows inside, and there seem to be a lot of people. The voices and laughter carried very far in this late night. Chen Yakin lay on the balcony and watched for a while, then walked into the living room, closed the screen door, and hesitated while standing there. She couldn't decide whether to continue sitting on the sofa or go to the bedroom. She was stunned for a while, but she still didn't feel anything. Feeling sleepy, I simply walked to the sofa and sat down, turned on the computer, and felt that there was nothing to watch, so I just sat there and dazed for a while. She stood up and walked to the bathroom. After a while, she came back with a rag. She squatted down and started to wipe the floor with the rag, as well as the table legs, chair legs, sofa legs, and skirting boards. They were light blue. The rag quickly turned black, which gave her a great sense of accomplishment, and then she remembered that she hadn't done any hygiene for a long time. As soon as she started cleaning, she didn't seem so tired anymore. She finished wiping the floor, then wiped the table, coffee table, and cabinets. She returned to the bathroom and was still not satisfied, so she even used a brush to clean the toilet bowl carefully. The weather in May was already a bit hot, and she was sweating profusely. It looked like she needed a second bath tonight. By the time she finished taking a shower, dried her hair, and fell on the bed, it was already past 2 o'clock in the morning. She felt completely exhausted. Lying there, she almost passed out, but thinking of not having to go to work tomorrow, Chen Yakin immediately felt like she was exhausted. No longer sleepy, she sat up on the bed. It was already past 11 o'clock when Chen Yakin woke up. Thinking of the pictures she saw on the 19th floor yesterday, and the noisy sound coming from the Meisi River below that the door could not be closed, Chen Yakin, I don't want to go out. but she didn't want to continue eating instant noodles. After thinking about it, she cooked a pot of porridge in the rice cooker and fried the 3 remaining eggs in the refrigerator into poached eggs. This would be enough for one meal. She would wait until tonight. The big deal went to the center of Hangzhou to eat Teosha food, but there were not many people there. When the porridge was cooked, Chen Yakin did not take it to the sofa to eat, but brought it to the dining table. She took the laptop and opened the trading software. While drinking the porridge, she looked at the external market situation of the previous day, especially crude oil. She saw that crude oil is still rising, and I feel vaguely uneasy. During this long holiday, the country is on holiday, but the foreign market is still going its own way. What you are most afraid of is the drastic changes in the external market. You are helpless and can only watch them, anticipating how they will affect the internal market after the holiday. That kind of it feels like Lingqi. Of course, there is also the opposite possibility, that is, the external market is soaring or plummeting, and you happen to be in the right direction. That is, when you are sleeping, when you are drinking porridge, when you are doing hygiene, when you are doing nothing, your wallet is bulging. After the festival, there will definitely be a high point or a low point that makes you excited. Chen Yakin shook her head and sighed softly. As they are now, it is taboo to carry out heavy warehouses before the holiday. The world is changing rapidly. Who knows whether there will be any major international events in these 4 days? There will be black swans that block out the sky. If there are, it will definitely be a gap after the holiday, which is shocking. Chen Yakin then browsed several news websites. Fortunately, the world is peaceful and the weather is smooth. There are no events that may affect the financial market. If this is just the rise of crude oil and no other events are superimposed, then the natural rubber after the holiday, even if it rises, the increase will be slow and there will still be opportunities for adjustment. After eating porridge and poached eggs, Chen Yakin's stomach was full, but she felt indescribably tired and her limbs were weak. She didn't even clear away the dishes on the table, so she stood up, walked to the sofa, and fell down. When she was alone, Chen Yakin felt that the sofa was more reliable than anyone else and more trustworthy. When she is tired and sleepy, she will go to the sofa. She will also go to the sofa when she is in a bad mood. When she feels a little lonely, she will also go to the sofa. What else does a man need? Is a man reliable with a sofa? Is a sofa so trustworthy? These 2 days of work and rest have broken her usual habits. It is particularly easy to feel tired. Chen Yakin knows that it is caused by the disorder of the biological clock. If it is disorder, it is disorder. Isn't it a holiday? Do you want to take care of it? When Chen Yakin secretly said that she wanted you to take care of it, she suddenly felt a trace of sadness in her heart. She told herself, who will take care of you? She thought of Meng Ping, and when she thought of Meng Ping, she thought of the day she was at home. Meng Ping Duan knocked on her door with a chicken pot. There will never be a time like this again. Chen Yakin sighed softly. She thought of the woman who spoke to Meng Ping on the phone with a slightly commanding tone. He must be with her now. Chen Yakin growled irritably, slapped the sofa with her right hand, turned over, faced inward, and buried her face in the sofa. After a while, she fell asleep again. In a daze, she pulled the blanket folded on the back of the sofa and covered herself. When Chen Yakin woke up, it was already dark outside, and the entire living room was dimly lit. Only the upper half, near the ceiling of the balcony, was illuminated by the lights from Mishaihe Park below. Chen Yakin reached out and touched the TV remote control on the coffee table. She pressed it and the TV turned on. News network had come to an end. Chen Yakin was startled and sat up suddenly. She had just heard about a hurricane on TV and caught a glimpse of a scene that seemed to be in Southeast Asia. Chen Yakin looked at it carefully. On the screen, Li Ruiying and Luo Jing were already saying goodbye to the audience. Next was the weather forecast. Chen Yakin quickly got up. When she was about to reach the dining table, she turned on the overhead light with a flick of her hand. Chen Yakin sat down, quickly opened Sina and took a breath. This morning, on the morning of May 2, 2008, Cyclone Nargis made landfall near Haiji Island in Irrawaddy Province, Myanmar. When the storm made landfall, its maximum wind force exceeded 190 km per hour and its maximum speed exceeded 240 km per hour. After the storm made landfall, it rushed towards the delta region of Myanmar and moved north, causing countless villages and houses to collapse. According to incomplete statistics, it has caused tens of thousands of deaths, and the disaster is still expanding. The Myanmar government has asked the international community for help. Chen Yakin felt chills on her back. Myanmar is an important rubber-producing area. This hurricane will definitely bring about a rise in natural rubber. The black swan is coming, and it is really blocking the sky. I am really afraid of what will happen. Chen Yakin walked to the sofa and sat down, picked up her mobile phone, and after calming down her emotions, she dialed Lau Ni's number. "What's the matter?" Lau Ni asked angrily as soon as the call came through. "Mr. Ni." Chen Yakin had just started to speak when a roar from Lau Ni came over the phone. However, Lau Ni's anger was not directed at Chen Yakin, but at the woman behind him. After he finished yelling, he softened his tone slightly and said to Chen Yakin again, "What's the matter? Mr. Ni, have you watched the news? Over there in Myanmar." "I saw it." Lau Ni interrupted Chen Yakin's words, his tone still firm. Chen Yakin suddenly felt speechless. She said okay then and hung up the phone. There was no need to say anything else. Since Lau Ni had seen the news, he was not an idiot. He knew the stakes involved. Today, I don't know which woman he is with. Chen Yakin thinks that woman will be unlucky today. Chen Yakin rubbed her face with her hands and calculated quickly in her mind. If they closed all their positions based on the closing price on April 30th, they should have lost more than 120 million, but this was impossible. The disaster in Myanmar is still expanding, and their losses will further increase with the continuous news of hurricanes in the past 2 days, as well as those shocking scenes. For the next 2 days, they were harassed every minute. The delivery days of natural rubber 0805 are from May 16 to 20th, but because they are not a spot company that has applied for hedging qualifications and been approved by the exchange, they even purchased the spot and entered the delivery process to take advantage of the price difference between spot and futures. There is no chance to reduce one's losses. There is not much time left for them, and there is no room for adjustment. Chen Yakin feels that the best way is to close all positions during the post-holiday collective bidding stage. But with such a large amount, will they take over the order? Yes, only God knows. Chen Yakin picked up the phone and put it down again. She felt that it was difficult for Lau Ni to listen to what he said now, so she would wait one more day until he had accepted this reality, and then tell him her thoughts the day after tomorrow. Thank you for the reward of 2 fishes at around 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. Thank you to the Hydrogen Oxide Disinfection Knowledge Bureau, Robin Granite, Peter, and book friend 201912170332388847 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1467. On the evening of April 30th, Lu Yun and Ren Rongrong, people from their department, went to the buffet restaurant upstairs in Jinmao Tower and ate at the buffet. After eating, Lu Yun returned home. After taking a shower and putting on her nightgown, Lu Yun thought for a while and then walked into the room filled with clothes designed by Zhang Chen. All the clothes in this room were from Half-Acre Field. Lu Yun's own usual clothes, all hanging in the walk-in closet. The holiday starts tomorrow, and Lu Yun feels extremely relaxed. When she is relaxed, she feels that she can wear cotton and linen skirts at home to experience the warmth. Lu Yun picked a linen dress, put it on, and looked in the mirror. She felt that she looked like a different person in the mirror. A change of style really means a change of person. Lu Yun couldn't help but smile. She pinched the belt with both hands and tightened her waist slightly. Looking at herself in the mirror, she still had a graceful figure, just like when she was a girl. And there has been no change until now. Lu Yun is the kind of person whose body shape will not change no matter what she eats. This saves her a lot of worries and gives her a lot more enjoyment in eating. Lu Yun put her hands on her chest and stroked down her skirt. The slightly rough texture of the linen made her palms itch. She looked at herself in the mirror and felt a little shy. This was a dress designed by Zhang Chen. As if it was designed for her. What kind of skillful hands and what kind of care must be taken to design such a docile and gentle dress? Lu Yun looked around and felt that her eyes were full of treasures. She decided that the next time she went to the United States or Europe for vacation, she would no longer bring any famous brands, but a box full of clothes designed by Zhang Chen. She would wear them for everyone looks at it, and when they ask, she can proudly say, "Does it look good? This is designed by my friend." She knew that if she said this, someone would have an ambiguous understanding of the word friend, and would look at her meaningfully. If it was ambiguous, it would be ambiguous. Lu Yun felt that she liked this kind of ambiguity. Lu Yun thought of Zhang Chen walking past her that day in Jiangpan Park. She remembered that he was sitting there, looking at the other side with such deep eyes. Lu Yun sighed softly. Lu Yun walked out in a linen skirt. She walked to the terrace connected to the living room. The wall beside the terrace was covered with roses. Lu Yun stood in front of the wall of roses and looked outside. The Jinmao Tower stood tall and shining. The construction site of the International Financial Center next to it was also brightly lit and was in progress. Behind and to the right of them is the Oriental Pearl Tower. Lu Yun stood on the terrace for a while and then walked back to the living room. She first walked to the refrigerator, opened it, took a lot of snacks and drinks from it, and put them on the coffee table in front of the sofa. Then she walked to the study, took her laptop, and sat back on the sofa. She wanted to enjoy your first night of vacation. Lu Yun picked up the remote control of the stereo and pressed it. Soon, the melodious sound of Bach's unaccompanied violin filled the spacious two-story living room. Lu Yun leaned on the sofa, put the computer on her lap, opened it, and started browsing the Associated Press website. Soon, an unobtrusive piece of news caught Lu Yun's eyes. This news said that a tropical storm Nargis has formed in the Bay of Bengal, and the meteorological department began to monitor its movement path from Nargis as it approached India. As expected by the meteorological department, the tropical storm did not make landfall in India. It would turn sharply eastward. However, it did not follow its usual route and enter the mountains of Bangladesh or northwestern Myanmar. Instead, it struck the low-lying Ulloa in central Myanmar. Bottom Delta. In this news, the Associated Press quoted Mark Rand, a professor of meteorology at the University of Guam, as saying, "As soon as I saw the storm track map, I said, oh, this is bad, it will form a huge storm. The tide is like Hurricane Katrina hitting New Orleans, USA." Lu Yun was shocked. The damage caused by Hurricane Katrina to New Orleans in 2005 shocked the world. Because of the social chaos and ineffective disaster relief caused by Hurricane Katrina, President George W. Bush was criticized at the time. Polls dropped sharply. If this hurricane is as powerful as Hurricane Katrina, it is something to be reckoned with. In the same report, Jeff Masters, an official of the American Weather Underground Organization, said that the storm's unusual eastward turn directed its finger at the most densely populated areas of Myanmar and the terrain where the storm made landfall. It is also not conducive to reducing its power. Regardless of whether it lands in India, Myanmar, or Bangladesh, as long as its power is comparable to Hurricane Katrina, Liu Yun predicts that it will seriously affect the financial market, especially natural rubber. The entire Southeast Asia is the main producer of rubber. Origin. Liu Yun picked up the remote control of the stereo and pressed the pause button. Bach immediately hid in every corner of the house and remained silent. Liu Yun picked up her mobile phone and called Ren Rong Rong. Ren Rong Rong had also returned home. Liu Yun told her the matter on the phone. Ren Rong Rong was surprised. She said, "Mr. Liu, I was also watching the news, but I didn't get relevant reports." "You are watching domestic news, right? When the hurricane makes landfall and causes damage, domestic news will report it," Liu Yun said. "The Associated Press predicts that the hurricane will land on May 2nd, which is the early morning of the day after tomorrow. You pay attention." "Great, that's the icing on the cake," Ren Rong Rong shouted. Liu Yun cursed softly, "Do you still have humanity? It is said that the level of this hurricane is comparable to Hurricane Katrina. If so, many people will lose their lives." "Okay, Mr. Liu, I sympathize with them," Ren Rong Rong smiled, "but isn't this the bowl of rice we eat?" Liu Yun was stunned for a moment, and then laughed softly. She put down the phone and thought, yes, those who work in finance are still eating disaster meals. They make money from the national crisis, the Southeast Asian financial crisis, September 11th, and Hurricane Katrina. The Gulf War, in which disaster did I absent myself, didn't I make a lot of money? Anyone who works in finance should go to hell. Liu Yun thought to herself as she reached out and took a piece of white chocolate. She pressed the remote control of the stereo, and Bach's voice continued to linger around her. While Chen Yakin was calculating rapidly in her mind, Lao Ni was sitting there, and his mind was also running rapidly. Chen Yakin calculated a loss of 120 million. Lao Ni calculated further than her. He calculated, 1. There is no way to get out of 200 million. If you want to get out, the loss should be at least 210 million. This loss is too great, and Lao Ni doesn't want it to happen. Yanyan came over and chatted with Lao Ni, telling her what brand of essence she still needed. She was almost out of facial cleanser and toner. "My dear, please accompany me to the center of Hangzhou." "Can you shut up and let me be quiet?" Lao Ni yelled at Yanyan. Yanyan was stunned for a moment, and then her mouth flattened. Lao Ni stood up, picked up his laptop, and walked to the dining table. Yanyan opened her big eyes and looked at him aggrievedly. Lao Ni gave her a look that could kill people. Yanyan's heart I felt cold and was stunned. Lao Ni walked to the dining table and sat down, put the computer in front of him, and opened the trading software. He reviewed the trading on the 30th. He felt that if the trading time was extended by another hour, he would not necessarily lose the chance of winning. Although the many parties won, it was not that easy. The most important thing, Lao Ni judged, was that they had exhausted their main force and there were not many bullets left behind. 210 million. The only way to avoid this loss is to knock down the many parties and push the natural rubber 0805 back to around 20,000 or 20,500 points. Of course Lao Ni knows that the current situation is beneficial to many parties. The topic of the Myanmar cyclone will definitely be hyped. But in fact, it is only Myanmar that suffers, not Thailand or Indonesia. These two are the rubber giants. They account for more than half of the world's natural rubber production. Myanmar, in fact, does not account for much of its rubber production. Not even the output of Hainan Island. Lao Ni also settled on the long side, that is, most of them are speculators, and the short sides that have been washed out are the real rubber traders. For speculators, Facing the approaching delivery date, spot delivery, the pressure will increase. How many of them have the courage to increase their positions and not hesitate to smash the market? Whether they have a warehouse to receive the spot goods is a question. Lau Ni also has another hope, that is, he feels that as long as he persists and King Ni's flag remains standing, those empty parties who have been washed out will definitely regroup their strength and re-enter the field. By that time, the battle will be better. Change your mind immediately. Old Nisi thought about it and felt that this was his only way to avoid huge losses, and it was also his life and death battle. Starting from tomorrow, he would implement more funds. These funds must be in his account early Monday morning. Now that he has ammunition in his hands, Lau Ni feels that he can still fight no matter how difficult the battle is. Just like the purchase of polyester yarn, Lau Ni faced more and more debts that he could not even imagine, and more polyester yarns that could no longer be piled in the warehouse. He gritted his teeth and persevered, and finally I live a life of eating sugar cane. Day and night, as long as Lau Ni shrinks one day, he will be finished, there will be no story behind him, and he will not be the Lau Ni he is now. Lau Ni picked up his mobile phone and started calling his friends one by one. He didn't want to tell Lu Ligan and Meng Ping about this, and he didn't want them to know the number of 210 million. He knew that for people who have not participated in the financial market, this number will shock them, and in the financial market, 210 million is nothing. The most important thing is that Lau Ni doesn't want to attract them. Because of this, paying too much attention to their joint venture will make Lau Ni feel that his hands and feet are tied. As it is now, it's good. There is another thing that Lau Ni can't say, which is face. Lau Ni feels that Lu Ligan and Meng Ping have recognized that it is not their young talents who can do big things. They have recognized Lau Ni and think that he is also a ruthless character. For men, many times, without face, they have nothing, and they feel lifeless. The idea was decided and the funds were secured. Lau Ni stood up and walked to the living room. Yanyan was sitting there, wiping her tears with a tissue. Lau Ni looked at his watch and said to her, "Let's go to Hangzhou city center." "Really?" Yanyan burst into laughter. "Thanks for the tip, Pandeo Ami." "Thank you Tai Zhongshang and Chiyo 2018171825333788 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone." The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1468. On May 4th, although it was not working time, Chen Yakin and Lau Ni still went to the office. The two had serious differences on the trading strategy for the next day. Chen Yakin insisted that the position should be closed during the call auction stage the next day. Accepted the loss and left the market, but Lau Ni insisted on adding more short positions and brought down the market. How to fight, Chen Yakin said, the rise in crude oil prices and the hurricane in Myanmar are two factors that are superimposed. Tomorrow's market will definitely gap up. How should we fight? It is precisely because there may be a short jump tomorrow that we cannot withdraw. Lau Ni said, the market is now unilateral, and we are attracting attention. As long as many parties find that we have signs of withdrawing, they will start to squeeze the position, and we will retreat. They will all be cut off. The impact of crude oil on natural rubber is indirect. The market will wake up after a period of panic tomorrow. The impact of the Myanmar hurricane on natural rubber is actually very limited. Myanmar is not Thailand, Indonesia, and Malaysia. It does not even rank among the top 10 rubber companies. The country of origin is not included. How big an impact will it have? If the market jumps short tomorrow, it will bring panic to the market. This emotion will expand after the market opens. Therefore, our strategy is that during the call auction stage, we cannot let them pull away. As long as we persist, keep in mind, the short parties who left the market will come back, and as the delivery date approaches, the long parties are the ones who need to panic. When Lao Ni was talking, Chen Yakin kept shaking his head. Chen Yakin said, "This is an ideal situation. It is your own imagination. The market cannot rely on imagination. If the short parties you mentioned did not enter the market, then what should we do? It doesn't matter if you don't enter the field. Then we will fight exclusively. I have already allocated more funds. This battle will bring out our prestige." "You are gambling," Chen Yakin said. Lao Ni nodded. He said, "Yes, I am just betting, and I must win the bet. If I win, this market is my Lao Ni's market. As long as the increase is not allowed to increase tomorrow, the funds from many parties that follow the trend will hesitate and choose to leave the market with a small profit." In the end, there were 2 or 3 companies competing against each other in the whole game. I wanted to see who the multi-party was and how capable it was. I, Lao Ni, didn't believe in this evil. When Lao Ni was talking, Chen Yakin kept shaking her head. Lao Ni looked at her and felt irritated, feeling that she had shaken his eyes. "Don't shake your head," Lao Ni said. Chen Yakin not only continued to shake her head, but also sighed repeatedly. Lao Ni was annoyed and shouted, "I told you not to shake your head." Chen Yakin stared at him angrily. Lao Ni looked at her, frowned and said, "Either you continue to rest tomorrow." At this point, Chen Yakin had nothing more to say. She stood up, kicked the chair she was sitting on angrily, turned around and walked out. The next morning, Lao Ni arrived at the financial business department at 8:40. He saw that Chen Yakin had arrived and was sitting in his seat. Lao Ni didn't say anything, walked in, and sat down on Ren Rongrong's seat opposite Chen Yakin. This place has now almost become Lao Ni's special seat. Lao Ni always sits here when he comes to the financial business department, using with this computer. After Lao Ni sat down, he told Molly and Beijing about today's trading ideas. They agreed without even looking at Chen Yakin. In fact, before Lao Ni came, Chen Yakin told them that Lao Ni would personally go into battle today and let them listen to Lao Ni. Chen Yakin sat there, not looking at Lao Ni, and not speaking. She kept herself out of the matter. She didn't even open the rubber plate, but was looking at other futures varieties. Lao Ni also thought that Chen Yakin did not exist. Lao Ni opened the small window and asked Ren Rongrong, "Mao Xiao Mao, do you still dare to come in today?" Ren Rongrong said, "It depends on the situation. I have lost all my capital and I have no courage." Lao Ni smiled and said, "Yes, it depends on the situation." Lu Yun also took a laptop today and went to the large office area of Ren Rongrong's department with Ren Rongrong. She and Ren Rongrong sat at a small conference table. In front of them was their own laptop. On the opposite wall, there was a large screen. During the collective bidding stage, Lao Ni followed his plan and started beating him fiercely. His move caught Lu Yun and Ren Rongrong by surprise. Lu Yun thought about it for a moment and then understood. She told Ren Rongrong that he was, "If you want to knock the board down and give yourself a chance to escape, take it easy and lead him by the nose." Ren Rongrong said yes. On that day, natural rubber opened at 22,005, an increase of 0.53% from the closing price of the previous trading day. Because of Lao Ni's fierce attack, it did not open with a big gap, but it did not allow Lao Ni to knock down the market and give yourself a chance to run away. This can be said to be a satisfactory start for both parties. Lao Ni looked at Chen Yakin opposite, and smiled proudly. Chen Yakin was not looking at him, but was looking at the market. She felt itchy in her heart, and she couldn't help it, so she returned to the Tianjiao market. Lao Ni's actions also made her she was moved and a little surprised. Today's opening price of 0805 did not jump higher. She was a little surprised and wondered whether she was really wrong and Lao Ni was right. Chen Yakin did not look at Lao Ni, but she could feel Lao Ni's pride. Today's opening achieved Lao Ni's goal of not increasing the increase. He did have reason to be proud. This opening was indeed a surprise to many onlookers. Everyone thought that there would be a big gap today, but it didn't happen. Some short sellers who left the market seemed to have seen the opportunity. They also followed in and pulled up the market for a time. It was as low American Samoa 21885 points. All of this seems to be going according to Lau Ni's pre-planned plan, even the short sides who have re-entered the market. You are watching the scenery on the bridge, and the people watching the scenery are watching you upstairs. Lau Ni may be the one looking at the scenery, but there are people watching him upstairs. Today, it is not Lau Ni who controls the entire disc, but Lu Yun and Ren Rongrong. They quickly pull up the disc again. No matter how Lau Ni played, the price was always rising. He placed a 5,000 lot, and the other party immediately followed with a 6,000 lot, raising the price in the market little by little. As time went by, Lau Ni felt a little weak. He felt that the opponent's fighting style was completely pressing down on him, and he was calm and leisurely. The opponent's bullets seemed to be in an endless stream, and he was able to move with ease while pressing down on him. At around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Ren Rongrong and the others pushed the market to 22,565. Lu Yun stared at the market. She felt Lau Ni's hesitation. Lu Yun and Ren Rongrong said, "No, this guy wants to slip away, you control the rhythm. Don't frighten him, let him continue to add positions. The position is heavy and the tail is too big to lose. He is reluctant to leave even if he wants to, so you can hold him down." Ren Rongrong woke up. If Lau Ni left the game now, his loss would not be big enough, and he might choose to leave the game reluctantly. Ren Rongrong said, "Yes, I understand, Mr. Lu." On May 5, Tianjiao 0805 finally closed at 22,385 points, an increase of 495 points, or 2.26%. After the transaction was over and the review was over, Lu Yun and Ren Rongrong said that if the price is neither up nor down now, it is the time when the other party hesitates the most. Take it easy tomorrow and don't be too harsh. Ren Rongrong said yes. Trading is actually about human nature. When the other party feels that the momentum is not right and his losses are not big, it is easy for a veteran to make a judgment and admit the loss and get out. But if you admit the loss at this time and leave the market, his losses are huge. Whether he is a novice or a veteran, he will still hold on to a trace of illusion and be reluctant to leave the game even though he knows that the situation is not good for him. During the Battle of Pingjin, our army besieged Fu Ziuyi's direct descendants and Guo Jingyun's 35th Army in the Xinbaoan area and refused to fight. Fu Ziuyi in Peeping was reluctant to abandon his team and resolutely broke through Tanggu and headed south. Missed the opportunity to fight, and finally forced himself to sign the alliance under the city. Ren Rongrong knew what Lu Yun meant, which was to let Lau Ni throw in all his family wealth, so that he would risk his life and struggle, and would be reluctant to leave even though he knew there was no hope. No matter how calm a person is, at a critical moment, especially when facing a tragic ending, the mind will also make mistakes, and the judgment will be inaccurate. At that time, Ren Rongrong knew that even Chen Yakin could not hold Lau Ni back. Lau Ni is an extremely conceited person from the bottom of his heart. His constant success has made his conceitedness expand to the point of arrogance. Who can control him? Not to mention one Chen Yakin, even 10 of them would be helpless. On May 6, Ren Rongrong and the others restrained their efforts. On this day, although the market rose, it only increased by 0.85%. On the daily chart, a cross star appeared, which gave Lau Ni hope and strengthened his belief. Confidence, he felt that under his persistence, many parties were obviously weak. Lu Yun and Ren Rongrong said that it was time to give him a little sweetness, not to put a long line to catch the big fish, but to put all the fish in and then catch them all. Ren Rongrong said yes. Ren Rongrong opened the small window and said to Lau Ni, "Your Majesty, You are so powerful. I saw that the bulls are at the end of their strength and the market is about to flip. I will decide to enter the market tomorrow and kill them. Lao Ni smiled proudly and said, okay, my bayonet is also ready. Ren Rongrong and Mr. Mao said that you should follow up with short selling as soon as the market opens tomorrow, and withdraw when the trend is established. Remember, big orders come in and small orders go out. Give him a falling market tomorrow. President Mao said yes. On May 7, the market opened at 22,700, an increase of 0.55%. However, after the market opened, Yangtze Petrochemical began to sell aggressively. Lao Ni saw this and opened the small window and shouted, Mao Zio Mao, good job. Lao Ni followed suit and increased his position. On that day, the market closed at 22,285 points, a drop of 290 points, or 1.28%. Lao Ni and his financial business department were in a state of joy. Even Chen Yakin was confused. She felt that this time, the mistake is a bit outrageous, but Lao Ni is still awesome. Lu Yun and Ren Rongrong said that a lot of funds entered the market today. Thursday and Friday will be 2 days of stalemate to attract more funds to come in. Wait until Monday, the 12th, and we will fight back. Ren Rongrong said yes. On the following 8th and 9th, Thursday and Friday, Tianjiao showed 2 more cross stars on the market, closing at 0.34% and 0.38% respectively, 2 tiny gains. The market was stalemate, and Lao Ni felt that the opponent was unable to counter-attack and was just resisting. At the end of Friday's trading, he increased his position again and wanted to give the opponent a fatal blow, but unfortunately he failed. Thank you book friend 20210305125100374 for the reward of 2 fishes at 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. Thank you book friend 20210305125100374, calm down monthly votes for Hahao, Taizongshang, Mu, the snake that bites the farmer, Tianying 1978, Wyoming, Qianbo, Yuengzi, Dragon, book friends 20170113091218553. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1469. When Liu Bang, the emperor of the Han Dynasty, came back from Taiwan and was still at Shanghai Pudong Airport, he called Zhang Chen and told him that he was going to treat guests at Tuxianjiayuan in the evening. He asked Zhang Chen to book the big box for him and notify his good friends. All come. Zhang Chen knew why he was so happy. This leadership election in Taiwan has attracted the attention of Chinese people around the world. Mainland news websites have made special reports. Zhang Chen said on the phone, "Congratulations, brother Liu." In the evening, everyone met at the Tuxianjiayuan Hotel. Han Emperor Liu Bang, Wang Minzheng, and Lin Shuwen were still in high spirits. Han Emperor Liu Bang and Zhang Chen said that cross-strait direct flights and 3 links are just around the corner. From now on, we can travel between the 2 places. It's convenient. By the way, Poles, the small 3 links will definitely go first. After the small 3 links, many Taiwanese people will go to Xiamen, and Xiamen's housing prices will definitely rise. Liu Bang, the emperor of the Han Dynasty, and Liu Ligan said. Liu Ligan agreed, and it seems that we have to grasp the layout in Xiamen. Brother Liu, what are the small 3 links? Wu Zaiyi asked. Liu Bang, the emperor of the Han Dynasty, said to him, it means 2 gates opening opposite each other, 2 horses going first. The 2 gates are Kinmen in Taiwan and Xiamen in the mainland. The 2 horses are Matsu in Taiwan and Ma'i Port in the mainland. These 2 places are far apart from each other. It's very close and will have direct navigation. Wu Zaiyi nodded, understood, and said, then can our express mail be sent directly to Taiwan through the many 3 links in the future? Yes, yes, I believe this can be realized soon. By the way, you can also make arrangements early. After the many 3 links, the exchange of goods between the 2 sides will definitely be very frequent. Lu Bang, the emperor of the Han dynasty, said. Wei Wenfang said, "Thank you Brother Lu for reminding us that we really need to develop this area." Everyone enjoyed this dinner very happily, and they were all very optimistic about the future situation of the 2 sides of the Taiwan Strait, especially Lu Bang, the founder of the Han dynasty, who laughed from beginning to end. Time flies by so fast, as if the willow trees by the West Lake have just turned green, the peach blossoms have just faded, the tulips in Prince Edward Bay have bloomed, and then the cherry blossoms have also bloomed. When spring comes, not only the footsteps of people, the footsteps of flowers, but also the footsteps of time. The steps also became hurried. On May 6, Hangzhou's first land bidding and auction in 2008 began. As expected, the Hangzhou Land Reserve Center launched 4 adjacent plots of land number 1, 2, 7, and 10 in Jiangkan at once. As a developer, everyone has doubts about Jiangkan launching so much land at once. Zixi was just speculated 2 years ago, and many plots of land in Zixi have not yet been developed. Jiangkan, which is further away from the city than Zixi, everyone is worried about the value of the land. They feel that it is still early. Jiangkan, it would be appropriate to at least launch it after all the Zixi land parcels have been developed. But unexpectedly, not only Lu Ligan, but also Vank and Yefan Group were interested in this block. They were also optimistic about the value of Jiangkan. The 2 plots of land 1 and 2 were listed as one subject. The 3 companies started competing for incentives from the beginning, and finally Lu Ligan won the project with a total price of 2.1 billion. The calculated average floor price was about 10,666 yuan/square meter, which was shocking. Vank and Yefan Group, which had been defeated in succession, also thought Lu Ligan was crazy. At that time, the selling price of houses in Jiangkan area was only about 12,300 yuan per square meter. With a floor price of 10,666 yuan, how much money did you make? Tan Shahen, who was sitting next to Lu Ligan, looked calm on the surface, but she was also anxious in her heart. The price had far exceeded their expectations. The next plot number 7 was also won by Lu Ligan. Fortunately, the land price this time did not exceed plots 1 and 2. This made Tan Shahen relax a little. When it came to plot number 10, Tan Shahen lay down. I told Lu Ligan that I couldn't take it anymore. If we take it again, our funds will be very tight in the future. Lu Ligan whispered to her, what if we don't take it? Without lot 10, a corner will be missing. The scale of the project will not meet our expectations. It will be difficult to complete this year's sales task. But brother, this requires money. Tan Shahen was a little anxious. Tan Shahen knew that what Lu Ligan said made sense, but the company's existing capital reserves forced Tan Shahen to remind Lu Ligan. I said no matter what the cost, that is no matter what the cost, take it first and then think about it. Funds are tight and other places are crowded, or we will find another way. Lu Ligan said, if you don't take it now, you will regret it when you go out. In the end, they won 4 pieces of land owned by Jiangkan for a total price of 4.12 billion yuan. The 4 pieces of land have a total area of 321 acres, a buildable building area of 449,000 square meters, and an average comprehensive floor price of 9,176 yuan/square meter. After returning to the company, Lao Tan and Yao Fen gathered around to inquire about the auction. Tan Shahen, Lao Tan, and Yao Fen said that from now on, everyone should prepare to live a hard life. Lao Tan asked about the average floor price of the 4 plots of land. Tan Shahen told him. Lao Tan was startled. He looked at Lu Ligan and said, aren't we walking a tightrope right now? Lu Ligan smiled and said, "What are you afraid of? Over the years, we have never been walking a tightrope." That is to say, at the same time that Lu Ligan and his Jinxia group spent almost all their money to acquire the Jiangkan land parcel, A-shares were continuing their plummeting journey that began at the end of 2007. The Shanghai Composite Index has dropped from more than 5,000 points at the beginning of 2008 to more than 4,000 points. Next, an even crazier decline will come. In this year, the Shanghai Composite Index once plummeted to a new low of 1,664 points. As A-shares led the world in decline, more than RMB 10 trillion in A-share market value evaporated. Some people described that China's middle class was being wiped out by the stock market during this wave of stock market crashes. On the one hand, macro control policies have not been relaxed, and as the purchasing power of the stock market has been reduced by the decline in the stock market, a panic is shrouding the entire real estate market. All developers are lamenting their stupidity in holding back the market last year, and are doing everything possible to promote real estate. The stock of housing units in the main urban area of Hangzhou has grown rapidly from more than 7,000 units at the end of last year to 20,000 units. Tan Shahen was very worried. She did not expect that after getting the land in Jiangkan, the situation would take a turn for the worse. Had she known this, she would have stopped Lu Ligan from taking action. But Zhujiang was never Zhujiang, but an idiot. At this time, it seemed that it was too late to say anything. Tan Shahen sighed. Monday, May 12. For the first time, Lu Yun did not go to the Chunzhe Western restaurant in Jiangban Park for breakfast at around 8 o'clock. She sat in the office, made herself a glass of milk, picked up the bread she brought in the morning and ate it. At 8:40, Lu Yun got up and went to Ren Rongrong's department. The people inside were slightly surprised when they saw Lu Yun. They all knew that this time should have been the breakfast time for Mr. Lu. She had never been at this time. Appeared in their department. After being surprised, they understood that today was the time for Mr. Lu to turn around and the decisive battle. No wonder Ren Rongrong had left her office long ago and arrived at the large office area, where she was waiting for Lu Yun. The two looked at each other, smiled, and sat down at the conference table. At 8:50, the call auction started. Yangtze Petrochemical Chairman Mao and others, who had already received the order, entered the market and started to pull up. Although Lao Ni was also constantly adding positions, they still pushed the opening price to 22,530 points, an increase of 0.38%. Immediately after the opening, Lao Ni never had a chance. Today's opening price was the lowest price today, and it continued to rise after that. Those short sellers who were waiting for an opportunity to come in and want to take advantage of the autumn wind saw that the situation was not good and fled one after another. However, the momentum of the bull side became stronger and stronger, and the short side soon only had an army of Lao Ni left. When it reached 23,000, Chen Yakin saw that the situation was over, and she told Lao Ni to admit it. "What do you recognize?" Lao Ni roared, his eyes were red with anxiety, and he had no choice but to be anxious. If he accepted the compensation and fought out at this time, his losses would have expanded to 400 million. How could Lao Ni be willing to do so? He felt that there is no way out, only to continue fighting, keep adding pressure, and strive to make the opponent fall to the ground. Lao Ni is still adding positions, but every time he adds a position, it is like a pebble thrown into the water. Soon there are no ripples at all, and the market continues to rise. At about 2:30 in the afternoon, almost everyone in Ren Rongrong's department had left their seats and stood behind Lu Yun and Ren Rongrong. Everyone was staring at the big screen on the wall. The big screen suddenly flashed, and then the whole building began to shake violently. The office supplies on the desks fell to the ground. Not only them, but also the entire company and the entire floor. People screamed and screamed. There was a chorus of cries. Lu Yun stood up immediately. Her first reaction was that there was a terrorist attack like September 11th. Lu Yun quickly shouted and looked out the window. Is there any smoke coming from the building? Many people were frightened. Ren Rongrong reacted quickly. She ran to the window and looked outside. Violent shaking came again. More people screamed. Ren Rongrong shouted, "No, Mr. Lu, no smoke." Lu Yun breathed a sigh of relief, clapped her hands and said, "Don't panic, it's just an earthquake, don't worry, everyone." Hearing Lu Yun shout this, everyone calmed down. The whole process lasted about 2 minutes. Everything calmed down and everyone breathed a sigh of relief. "Keep going," Lu Yun shouted. Ren Rongrong said, "This battle seems to be shocking." Lu Yun laughed. At 3 o'clock, when Lu Yun and Ren Rongrong were reviewing the game, someone shouted, "Wow, it turned out to be Wenchuan, Sichuan, and an 8.0 magnitude earthquake occurred." When Lu Yun heard this, she was shocked. "Wenchuan, that is our great Sichuan, with a magnitude of 8.0, even Shanghai could feel the earthquake." "How big an earthquake was that?" Lu Yun quickly picked up her cell phone and dialed her home number, but no one answered. She then dialed her mother's cell phone and the call went through. Her mother told her in shock that they had all fled to the streets, but nothing happened in Chongqing. "The house is just shaking. I heard that Abba is very good." Lu Yun breathed a sigh of relief. Her mother said, "It's okay. It's okay. There are many mahjong tables set up on the roadside. They are calling me to play mahjong." Lu Yun smiled and said, "Then you lose more." "Bah, bah, crow's mouth," her mother scolded, and Lu Yun laughed and hung up the phone. On the following 13th, 14th, and 15th days, natural rubber continued to rise every day. The miracle that Lao Ni expected did not happen. He hoped to reduce his losses every day, but his losses increased every day. By the 15th, it is already the last day before the delivery date. If Lao Ni does not close his position, he will be forced to close it by the exchange. In desperation, Lao Ni can only close all the positions. Lao Ni sat there with a pale face. No matter Chen Yakin or Mali, no one dared to express their anger. In the battle with Tian Xiao, they lost 763 million on their books. Lao Ni stared at the screen for a while, and then stared at Chen Yakin opposite. Chen Yakin was so annoyed by him that Lao Ni said viciously, "None of you should tell Mr. Meng or Mr. Lu about this, do you hear me?" Chen Yakin nodded. This matter was too big. If Lao Ni didn't tell her, she would definitely not dare to tell Meng Ping. Molly and Beijing both said they heard it. Lao Ni stood up and walked out. Thank you Pai Wuzun, Dragon, and Book Friends 2020911160109750 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1470. Zhang Chen's previous impression of the earthquake was in 1976, when he was in the 5th grade of elementary school. 1976 was really a sad year for the Chinese. Zhu, Zhou, and Mao passed away one after another that year, and the school there have been organized gatherings one after another, and the Tangshan earthquake has made it difficult for people to forget this year. Although Zhang Chen is in elementary school, he would go to the Post and Telecommunications office not far from his home after dinner every day. There is a newspaper reading column at the door of the Post and Telecommunications office, and a row of windows with daily copies of People's Daily and Guangming posted inside. Daily, Zhejiang Daily, Hangcheng Daily, and Reference News. There are many people in front of the newspaper reading column every day. In addition to the news briefing before the opening of the movie and the programs of the Central People's Broadcasting Station relayed by Yongcheng People's Broadcasting Station, this newspaper reading column is where Yongcheng people accept external information is the only way to know about major events at home and abroad. Not many people will hear the program time of the Central People's Broadcasting Station when people go to work or go to school. Unlike the newspaper in the newspaper section, you can read it anytime and anywhere 24 hours a day. Many people in Yongcheng regard it as a daily necessity to go to the newspaper reading section of the post office after dinner to read newspapers. Yongcheng even often saw people coming over at 9 or 10 o'clock in the evening, when the lights in the window were turned off, and these people were reading newspapers with flashlights. During the Tangshan earthquake, newspapers were full of reports about the disaster area every day. Yongcheng went to see it every day and felt that the place named Tangshan seemed to be closer to Yongcheng than Hangzhou. Seeing ragged people passing by on the street, or a truck of workers holding shovels passing by, Yongcheng would wonder if they were fleeing from Tangshan, or if these people were going to earthquake relief. Of course it's all impossible. Tangshan is more than 1,500 kilometers away from Yongcheng. How is it possible? Of course, this is what Yongcheng found out later. TV and the internet have shortened the distance in space. Yongcheng watched the reports about the Wenchuan earthquake on TV and online every day, and the shocking pictures, feeling as if the earthquake happened around him. He did feel the same way. Unlike the Tangshan earthquake, where he only knew about it after reading the news in the newspaper after the earthquake, it was not the case this time. On the afternoon of May 12, Yongcheng was sitting in the office upstairs in the dynamic zone. Suddenly he felt his feet shaking, making him feel dizzy. Yongcheng thought it was his hallucination at first, but immediately, the second wave of shaking came again, and the office supplies on the desk also shook. Many people shouted and ran to the yard outside. Yongcheng stood up and said, looking through the window, "I saw many people running out of the dynamic zone downstairs, and many cars stopped on the North Ring Road." Although Yongcheng had never experienced the scene before, he immediately knew it was an earthquake. After the Tangshan earthquake, there was a scientific and educational film called Earthquake. The school organized them to watch it countless times. Yongcheng also bought a comic book called Earthquake with a dark brown cover, so he still had some knowledge about earthquakes. Yongcheng walked into the yard. Ji Yiling, Su Qiaxin, and Zhao Jingjing all looked at him. Xiaoli was laughing. Yongcheng asked, "Why are you laughing?" "There was an earthquake," Xiaoli said. "Why are you happy about the earthquake?" Yongcheng was surprised. "I have never been shocked before, but I was shocked today," Xiaoli smiled. When Xiaoli said it, Ji Yiling, Su Qiaxin and Zhao Jingjing also said that they had not been shocked. Yongcheng said, "This is not an earthquake. At most, it was felt. The earthquake was far away from here. It might have been Taiwan. There are very few earthquakes in Zhejiang." In Yongcheng's impression, Taiwan and Japan are earthquake-prone areas. Taiwan is so far away, but the earthquake hit here, Zhao Jingjing asked. "If you are awesome, you will get here," Yongcheng said. Everyone stood in the yard for a while, chatting, but there was no movement. Everyone started to go back to the office. Yongcheng's cell phone rang. He picked it up. It was his mother. His mother asked him if he had just been there. "Earthquake?" Yongcheng said yes, but it was far away and nothing happened. "Hey, dear, we are at the non-staple food wholesale market, and everyone is running outside, so I almost fell down," Yongcheng's mother said. It's okay, don't worry," Yongcheng said and hung up the phone. He turned on his computer and looked at it. There was no news on the internet, but after 10 minutes, the first text message from Xinhua News Agency was sent out, saying that at 14:28 this afternoon, an earthquake occurred in the Wenchuan area of Sichuan. The magnitude was 8.0 and was felt in most parts of the country. Yongcheng was shocked. Sichuan was so far away and he could feel it here. Zhang Chen quickly called his mother and asked her, was Xiao Zhao's mother there? Zhang Chen's mother said, Zai, right next to her, they were on the bus home. Zhang Chen told his mother that there had just been an earthquake in Sichuan, and asked Xiao Zhao's mother to call back quickly to ask how her grandmother and uncle were doing. Okay, Zhang Chen's mother said hurriedly. After a while, the call came back and said it was okay, Chongqing was okay. Zhang Chen breathed a sigh of relief. Next, pictures of the Wenchuan disaster area and disaster relief pictures were constantly transmitted through TV and the internet, and the hearts of people across the country were tightened. Zhang Chen and his company and factory immediately organized donations. In addition to the donations organized by Zhang Chen, his company donated 10 million. Abridged here. But this earthquake, the unity and cohesion shown by the Chinese people in the face of the disaster have been praised by world public opinion. Zhang Chen was sitting in the office, and Li Yong came suddenly. Following him in hastily came Director Huang from the Hangzhou Red Cross Society. Zhang Chen had just dealt with him when he made donations 2 days ago. Zhang Chen stood up and asked Li Yong, why are you here? Li Yong waved his hand and said to Zhang Chen, I'm here to ask for your help. How much more donations are needed? Zhang Chen asked. Li Yong shook his head and said, I don't need you to donate any more. Instead, please see if you can help produce tents in your factory. There is currently a shortage of tents in the disaster area. There is a serious shortage. We are asking for national support. We can't buy it even if we want to spend money, said Director Huang from the Red Cross. Zhang Chen and others had never produced tents, but Su Qiaxin and his foreign trade company had exported tents. Zhang Chen called Su Qiaxin and asked her to get all the tent samples. Su Qiaxin led 2 people and came down with more than a dozen tent samples. There were single-person tents that folded with steel wires and could be used by swinging them. There were also camping tents with carbon alloy tubes, and there were also tents that needed to be supported by iron pipes. There are tents with 2 or 3 bedrooms and 1 living room covering a large area. Li Yong said that such large tents are needed, and the bigger the better. Temporary resettlement of disaster victims, medical and rescue teams all need such tents. Zhang Chen quickly asked Su Qiaxin to contact the factory that produced these tents and ask them if they could still produce them there. Su Qiaxin contacted her and the other party told her that their entire factory had been requisitioned by the local government. They were also producing tents needed in the disaster area and would not accept orders. Zhang Chen stared at the tent and felt that it was nothing special. The polyester cloth was coated with waterproof coating and was sewn with a sewing machine. As long as it was a sewing product, there was nothing that their factory could not produce. What their factory has no way to produce is these spray pipes that match the tents. Zhang Chen asked Su Qiaxin where these spray-coated iron pipes could be produced. Su Qiaxin said that Shentu Hongjian could do it. They have a hardware workshop and a spraying workshop. Zhang Chen immediately called Shentu Hongjian. As soon as Shentu Hongjian heard that Zhang Chen and the others were going to produce tents to support the disaster area, Shentu Hongjian immediately said, "Take me with you, Mr. Zhang. I have been crying every day while watching TV these past 2 days. I don't know what else I can do to help besides donating." "Mr. Zhang, that's great, you must bring me with you on this matter." Zhang Chen said, "Okay, thank you, Mr. Shentu, and I will ask Su Qiaxin to send you the order when it is finalized." "Okay, Mr. Zhang, don't worry, I pushed all other orders to complete this task," Shentu Hongjian said. After putting down the phone, Zhang Chen told Li Yong and Director Huang, "How about I complete 100,000 caps?" "Great, Zhang Chen. We are worried that we can't find such a large-scale enterprise to produce." "It's great that you can produce here," Li Yong shouted. Director Huang also said, "This really solves our big problem. Mr. Zhang, I will send people to your factory. If you need our help, we will help coordinate and solve it immediately. Li Yong said yes, let's do it. After they finished speaking, Su Kioxin frowned and said to Zhang Chen, Mr. Zhang, if this is the case, target's order will not be completed, and there will definitely be a breach of contract. Zhang Chen nodded and said, it doesn't matter. This one is more important than all other orders now. Su Kioxin, please tell Jessica and Jerry clearly why we can't ship. I hope they can understand. Of course, according to the contract, we will compensate those who deserve compensation. Su Kioxin said yes. Zhang Chen thought for a moment and said to Su Kioxin, send them the images and pictures of the earthquake-stricken area. I think they will understand after they see it. This is everywhere on the internet, but they still can't see it, Su Kioxin asked. How much do you think Americans care about what is happening in the world? They feel that the United States is the world, Zhang Chen said. Thank you for the reward of 2 fishes at around 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. Thank you Shijiaz Wang Jiaozi, Tianying 1978, Humorous Tribe, Book Friends 1611222135011799, Gradually Enlarging Pupils, Void Broken Dreams, Snake That Bites the Farmer, Quandion Electromechanical, and Cup Guy API for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1471. Jessica agreed to Zhang Chen's delay in shipment. She did not ask them for compensation. She just hoped that after completing 100,000 tents, they could seize the time and ship out the delayed goods as soon as possible. Haha, the sun really comes out from the west, Grandma, this female devil has turned into a female bodhisattva. Su Kioxin smiled at Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen said, people have the same mind and the same principle. What do you mean, boss? Su Kioxin asked. That is to say, everyone will understand things that are reasonable and reasonable, Zhang Chen said, everyone will encounter difficulties. Sometimes, don't blame others for not understanding your difficulties, but yourself, have you let them feel it? To your difficulties. I know, so you want me to send those images and pictures to them, Su Kioxin said. Zhang Chen is right, we must believe that what shocks us can also shock others. Okay, I believe you, boss, Su Kioxin said. Where's Xiao Wu? Ask Xiao Wu to come over. What? Let's go to the factory and arrange things, Zhang Chen said. Oh, don't call him then, I'll drive. Su Kioxin said that. Zhang Chen laughed. Su Kioxin was puzzled and asked, why are you laughing? Why, Xiao Wu is no longer dead. Xiao Wu, Zhang Chen asked. Su Kioxin smiled and said, no way, he is still dead, but now he is a dead ghost. Zhang Chen laughed and said, that's what you did behind closed doors, right? Su Kioxin giggled. Zhang Chen looked at the final sample and asked Su Kioxin, do you still have the sample? Su Kioxin said there was another one. In that case, you ask Xiao Sheng to send that to Shen to Hanjian immediately, and ask them to make the pipe according to the sample. You and I will take this to the factory, Zhang Chen said. Su Kioxin said okay, then I'll go make arrangements and come back right away. Zhang Chen nodded. When Zhang Chen and the others arrived at Xiaosha factory with tent samples, Su Kioxin had already called Zhao Zhigang. Zhao Zhigang and all the supervisors were already waiting for them in the conference room. Zhang Chen told them the matter and told them to hurry up. Everyone was excited to make 100,000 tents that were urgently needed in the Wenchuan earthquake-stricken areas, especially Kaidi. Kaidi said that her home is not far from Wenchuan. It takes about 2 hours by car. There are many workers from Sichuan in the workshop. On behalf of Sichuan, thank you all. Zhang Chen also told them that in order to rush this batch of goods, Target's delivery date has been postponed this time. They also understand us very well and do not ask us to pay compensation. We must also consider their losses. From now on to during the past 3 or 4 days while waiting for the tent fabrics to arrive, our entire factory has been working overtime. If we can make one more cabinet, we will help them make one more cabinet. All goods sold domestically will be stopped first. Zhao Zhigang and others said there was no problem. Also, the disaster area is in urgent need of tents. It is impossible to wait until we have made 100,000 tents before transporting them away together. We have calculated that there are about 1,300 tents per truck. By then, the Red Cross will send the trucks are waiting in the factory, and all the goods are not stored in the warehouse. They are put directly on the trucks from the workshop, and one truck is loaded and then taken away. In this way, when we make it, we must make it in complete sets, Zhang Chen said. Everyone said yes. After the meeting, Zhao Zhigang immediately went to order fabrics from the textile factory and confirmed the fabric coating with the coating factory. Zhao Zhilong took the pattern maker and opened the tent sample that Zhang Chen and the others had brought. He decided to cover the pattern with the lining first. Cloth, make a sample and determine the relevant dimensions. Zhang Chen Liangfen said, "We have never produced tents before, and workers will inevitably make mistakes. You must strictly control this time and never let defective products flow to the disaster area. If that happens, we are not helping with disaster relief. Rather, they are causing trouble and causing destruction." 2 points, yes, I understand, Mr. Zhang. The entire factory began to move. At midnight the next day, before the fabrics arrived, the first truck of spray-painted tent brackets from Shentuhanjian had already arrived. Shentuhanjian was worried that it would be too late for spraying. After receiving the order from Zhang Chen and the others, she immediately worked overtime to start production of 100,000 sets of tent brackets. The sooner the better. The production capacity of her own spraying workshop was not enough, so she spent more than what Zhang Chen had given her. Her price was half the price, and she distributed it to her peers for processing. Zhang Chen found out and said he would give her the money. Shentuhanjian said, "No, Mr. Zhang, please let me contribute." Next, Zhang Chen and his factory were busier than ever before. Such a large factory area became crowded. Every day, the Red Cross dispatched more than a dozen vehicles to wait for tents here. There was no room in the parking lot in front, so they parked in the living area behind. On the basketball court, plus the trucks that transport fabrics and spraying tubes every day, Zhang Chen and the others have turned this place into a logistic space. Such a large amount of goods needs to be loaded and unloaded, and the tents must be packed one by one and packed into the same carton with the matching spray pipes. The workload and intensity of the work are very high. Zhang Chen and the others are not so busy here. There were many handymen and loaders, so Lao Tan transferred 10 workers from their construction company to help. Even Lao Zhang and Xiao Zhao's fathers came to the factory to help. Lao Zhang and Zhang Chen said that day they were digging in the ditch behind Dehua Yuan. When the hoe came down, the whole mountain shook, and their faces were frightened. Frankly, I didn't know what happened, but later I found out it was an earthquake, and it was Sichuan. Lao Zhang whispered to Zhang Chen that when Xiao Zhao's father heard that it was Sichuan, he was almost paralyzed. The earthquake in Sichuan had spread here, so what would happen to Sichuan and Chongqing? Fortunately, he made a call finally. I found out that everyone in my family was fine, and I felt relieved. Even now, you can find someone with just one phone call. In the past, there was no rush to kill someone, Lao Zhang said. During the Tangshan earthquake, a supply and salesperson from the factory happened to be on a business trip to Tangshan. When he heard about the Tangshan earthquake, his wife and mother came to the factory crying, and the factory was also panicked. They called the cooperative factory, but their factory buildings were collapsed, and there was no one to answer the phone. It was so urgent. The 2 women kept crying in the factory director's office from morning to afternoon. Fortunately, in the afternoon, the call came. It was the supply and salesman who called from the Chengjian railway station in Hangzhou. As soon as the call came, he said that he was going to die. It was fate that the Tangshan earthquake occurred at around 3 o'clock in the morning. He left Tangshan by train at around 12 o'clock in the middle of the night. He learned about the earthquake in Tangshan on the train. A Tangshan earthquake killed more than 240,000 people. Thinking about it, he was really lucky. Lao Zhang kept talking, and Zhang Chen was worried about whether the Wenchuan earthquake would cause greater losses than Tangshan. Zhang Chen and his entire factory worked non-stop for 12 days, and finally completed all 100,000 tents. When the last 5 tents carried the slogan Wenchuan, hold on. Come on, Sichuan. The people of Hangzhou and the people of Sichuan are heart to heart. When the vehicle with the red banner was loaded and ready to set off, Li Yong took Director Huang and his party to Zhang Chen's factory. Li Yong walked into each workshop. He led Director Huang and others to stand in front of the workshop and bowed to the workers to express his gratitude. Natural rubber lost more than 700 million. Lao Ni suffered heavy losses, but it was not enough to kill him. It just made Lao Ni feel that he had been numb and unresponsive these past few days and could not think of anything. He is not interested in even sleeping with women. Also, he gets angry for no reason at all times, and he doesn't know what he is angry about, which makes everyone around him cautious. His daughter called him and asked him, "The town is mobilizing now to encourage everyone to donate to the Wenchuan disaster area. How much should we donate?" "Donate your shit, you'll get nothing. I didn't cause the earthquake, it's none of my business." Lao Ni scolded angrily, and after he finished cursing, he hung up the phone, thinking angrily, "There is an earthquake here too, and I am also a victim of the earthquake." Lao Ni sat there, angrily staring at the table in front of him. The smooth tabletop reflected his face. The tabletop was maroon. His face left on the tabletop looked a little gloomy and blurred. Lao Ni's mood gradually calmed down. He remembered that in the past few years, he had donated money to fund education and help poor college students, which had brought him a lot of good reputation. Lao Ni is now very famous, and the media often reports that if you are engaged in charity, no matter how generous you are, the reputation you have finally gained cannot be ruined by this. Lao Ni picked up the phone and called his daughter. Lao Ni asked, "How much did other factories donate?" "Some donated 500,000 yuan, 600,000 to 800,000 yuan, and the most donated was 1 million yuan, my daughter said." "Then you go and donate 3 million," Lao Ni ordered, and his daughter agreed. After hanging up the phone, Lao Ni turned on the computer. He saw Mao Xiaomao opening a small window, and there were a series of crying faces inside. Lao Ni felt bored when he saw it, knowing that Mao Xiaomao was saying that he had lost in this battle. Lao Ni ignored him and turned off the computer again. He didn't even bother to look at the disk that he had to read every day. He was cursing in his heart, "You are the loser. The person who has suffered the most is here. I can't find his grave even if I want to cry." Lao Ni stood up and walked to the window, looking at the Jiangnan Canal below and the dynamic zone opposite. He saw someone in Zhang Chen's office walking around with his hands behind his back, like an official, but he couldn't see who is Cheng. Lao Ni stood in front of the window for a while, feeling very depressed. He turned around and walked out of the office, walked out of the company's door, went downstairs, and drove to the Ivy Tea House on the edge of the West Lake. Lao Ni was a regular customer here. But he has always brought this kind of woman with him before, and this is the first time he comes alone. Lao Ni doesn't like drinking coffee. This is a place where he can resonate with those little girls. I don't know since when, the little girls in Hangzhou regard being able to go to Ivy Tea House to drink tea as a matter of fact. Stylish thing to do. Lao Ni asked for a box and sat down alone. He looked at the lush sycamore leaves outside the window, drank tea, and thought blankly. Fifa I called him, but he didn't answer. Jiao Jiao called him, but he didn't answer either. He put his phone on silent. When Yan Yan called him, he simply turned off his phone. He needs to be alone to think carefully, to think clearly. Lao and I looked at the leaves of the French plane tree outside the window, and thought blankly while drinking tea. When it got dark outside and the dim street lights came on, Lao and I had already made up his mind. He decided to go back to PTA and focus on PTA. PTA was the largest raw material in his factory. At least he was familiar with PTA and he knew the spot price. The source factory is also clear. Unlike this Kishinjiao, it is impossible for him to even do a hedging. Thanks for calming down. Monthly tickets for Hahao, Daos Hung 123, CYTYP, Zi Zheng said, Tai Zongshang, why can't I change my name? Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone.